possible here and there, otherwise largely dry. Scotland and Northern Ireland, different story. A keen breeze here, bringing in plenty of showers or longer spells of rain, particularly for Western Scotland and Northern Ireland, making it feel on the cool side, 17 to 19 degrees. Further south, where we do have some sunshine, it will be warm, but not as hot as recent weather. Now, into the evening, we'll see those showers slip further east and south into northern England and eastern Scotland. Perhaps the odd rumble of thunder. These will be lively and potentially persistent showery outbreaks in places. They're starting to ease during the evening across Northern Ireland and perhaps western Scotland as well, but they'll begin to appear into North Wales. Elsewhere across England and Wales, a dry end to the day, plenty of clear skies as we go into the evening, and still feeling warm out there, but like I say, we've lost that oppressive heat of recent days. Now we go into Friday morning with some more persistent rain arriving into western and central Scotland. That will ease off initially, but then turn heavier and more persistent later in the day. Temperatures at the start of the day around the mid-teens, but as we go through the morning, it's going to start to feel more humid once again across the south, certainly. Plenty of sunshine through the southern half of the UK, another fine day to come. But further north, we've got more cloud for northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that heavier, more persistent rain returning to western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Perhaps more than 100 millimetres over some of the wetter hills of western Scotland, but it's warm in the south, 27 Celsius.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. A broken down vehicle on the A720 westbound after Babberton Junction causes 22-minute delays. Exercise caution and allow extra time. Resurfacing on the A40 near Close Farm and halfway causes closures and diversions. In North Tyneside, the A1 northbound has a lane closed, resulting in a 30-minute delay. Northamptonshire's A45 eastbound faces 50-minute delays due to a collision. Bedfordshire's M1 southbound has 2 lanes closed between junctions 13 and 12, causing delays. And on the trains, disruptions continue on Avanti West Coast between Lockerbie and Carlisle. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Good afternoon, Britain. A cheerful Lollipop man's signature high fives have been stopped in their tracks.
Oh dear. Well, Neil Cotton, believed by local children... sorry. I'll start that all over again. This is a chap called Neil Cotton, and he's beloved by local kids in Howden, East Yorkshire. And he's been told by the council to stop the friendly high-fiving gesture, all in the name of health and safety.
But many parents and motorists are calling it nonsense. No surprises there. So apparently this chap, 57 years old, he spent the last 2 years brightening up the school run in the East Yorkshire town of Howden. There he is, looks like a nice guy, doesn't he? He has a cheerful attitude. He has his signature high fives. The children love it, the parents love it, he loves it. But no, the council says, get on with your job and stop the high fives.
This is the one area of employment where the councillor's trying to chivvy people on and get them to work harder rather than less hard. But I mean, what have we done in this country where we've sort of abandoned our sense of whimsy? I think
whimsy.
Adding a sense of whimsy to all jobs, I think, is a fundamental productivity measure, actually. I think if you're enjoying what you're doing, you're going to be doing it better. People are going to go into school or away from school with a smile on their face. What a joyful thing in a town in Yorkshire. I mean, amazing, brilliant. And yet, no, of course, the clipboards have to come out and the dour library monitor style individuals. I bet they're all library monitors at school. They've just got to tell people that they can't have fun.
Yeah, so the children have to be shooied along. They can't be distracted by such frivolities as a high five.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning to you. It's 9:30 on Thursday, the 3rd of July, live across the UK. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, who's at the fabulous Henley Royal Regatta.
It's because she's pointing at me. She looks absolutely miserable. Yeah. Labour MPs, yeah, she looks absolutely miserable.
Tears and turmoil. Chancellor Rachel Reeves sobbing sparks the markets to crash. Number 10 insists she's going nowhere. Were those tears personal or were they political? The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, spoke to GB News a little earlier.
I think there are lots of people who are watching who will think about some of our own experiences from time to time where we've had things going on in our lives outside of work that sometimes you bring to work with you, and that yesterday was one of those occasions.
And talking of the Health Secretary rewiring the NHS, the Prime Minister will set out the government's 10-year plan to revive the NHS that he says his family served. Can Labour fix it?
I believe they're playing a bit of a game here to delay until, you know, all of us have died, all the nuclear veterans.
Well, we're going to be joined by nuclear veterans sharing their struggle for justice after being exposed to hazardous material during weapons testing in the 1950s and the 1960s. And Crete wildfires. At least 1,500 people have been evacuated as a massive wildfire rips through the Greek holiday island. And the American rapper-singer Sean Diddy Coombs is denied bail after being convicted of prostitution-related offences. And Greater Manchester Police have apologised for decades of grooming gang failures. The force is now investigating over 1,000 suspects. And some very sad breaking news. The Liverpool football player Diego Jota has died at the age of 28 in a car crash just 2 weeks after he got married.
I can crack on and get back to normal again, but actually the phase afterwards is really, it's a really difficult journey.
And a roller coaster recovery. The Princess of Wales talking frankly about the pressure of putting on a brave face through her cancer treatment and recovery. It was while she was visiting Colchester Hospital. And some very sad breaking news. The Liverpool footballer Diego Jota has been killed in a car crash just 2 weeks after he tied the knot. The 28-year-old Portuguese forward died in the crash in northwestern Spain, according to a Spanish news agency report. GB News sports presenter Paul Coit joins us now. Paul, terrible. Just 28, his football career still years ahead of him, but almost so poignantly married just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's shocking, Andrew, and the pictures that he'd put on social media, that he'd only just got married. You know, he'd played for Liverpool. Liverpool had won the title. It'd been a very successful season for them. The summertime is the time where they get to relax before they go back to training, which is going to be just about a week away. And, you know, what more can you say? It's just horrendous news. It's terribly sad. It's awful news for football. We've got a 28-year-old man in the prime of his life, and it really is a shock. It's just awful news. I only just found out about it just 5 minutes ago.
And Paul, help us out here. Just how significant a footballer was he? Was he a big part of the Liverpool team, which, as you say, won the Premier League last time?
Huge, incredibly talented footballer. Signed for a Portuguese international, signed from Wolves, went to Liverpool, won the title there, and just a really excellent player. And it's just such a huge shock. This is really going to reverberate. This is not going to be just where we hear that even famous people pass away. This is going to be enormous. And it's going to affect Liverpool greatly. I mean, it really is. Just honestly, it's really difficult to come to terms with. I'll come back on as soon as I get back. I mean, I'm just on the road now at the moment. Yeah. As soon as I get back home, and then we can probably talk a little bit more a bit later.
Sure.
About Diogo and his career, etc. But it really is. It's just hard to believe it's happened.
And Paul, for those people who are listening on the radio, we're just showing a photograph of the footballer.
Yeah.
He not just got married 2 weeks ago, he had a young family, 2 young children, which makes it all the more tragic and poignant.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, that's the main thing. It's talking about the fact that he's famous, talking about the fact that he's an excellent footballer, but it's a young man in the prime of his life with kids. It's absolutely heartbreaking. It really is.
All right, that's the GB News Sports presenter Paul Coyte, and we'll bring you more on that story as it comes up. We'd love to hear what you think. Send your views and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com. Your saver. Sam Francis now. He has your latest headlines.
Very good morning from the newsroom. More on that breaking news later this hour. First, though, the other stories making the news this morning. Sir Keir Starmer has backed Rachel Reeves to stay on as Chancellor after emotional scenes in the Commons yesterday. She was seen crying during Prime Minister's questions and it sparked market chaos. The pound fell and borrowing costs soar. Allies, though, blame a tense exchange with the Speaker. Greater Manchester Police has launched an investigation into more than 1,000 grooming gang suspects after years of failure. A watchdog report says improvements are being made, but victims still face an irrecoverable loss of trust. Sir Keir Starmer is unveiling a 10-year NHS plan, promising a shift to tech-led and community-based care. But critics warn the plan is impossible to deliver without fixing staffing issues and the social care crisis. 4 people are facing terror charges over £7 million damage caused to military planes at RAF Brize Norton. Counter-terror police claim the attack had a terrorist connection linked to Palestine action. And a wildfire on Crete is burning out of control this morning, forcing thousands to evacuate. Flames threaten homes and hotels. Boats have been used for rescues as smoke and ash spread across the island. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with more news for you at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good morning to you, Britain's Newsroom here. Andrew Pearce, I'm with you here in the studio. Beverly Turner, my fine colleague, she is at the magnificent Henley Regatta, bathed in glorious July sunshine. But we're going to be talking this morning about the extraordinary scenes at Westminster yesterday. I've been writing and talking about politics at Westminster since 1988. I have never, ever seen a scene like this before, where a senior cabinet minister is literally sobbing on the front bench. The Prime Minister speaking at the dispatch box, seemingly oblivious to the fact his most senior minister was in a state of acute distress. Now, we weren't told till later, according to the Treasury, the Chancellor was experiencing an intensely personal matter. The Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, showed no sympathy and almost mocked the Chancellor, saying she looked very miserable. You may think perhaps she should have been more compassionate, but my point would be, if she really was experiencing some intensely personal matter which was causing great sadness, why did she go into Parliament that morning? Why didn't she stay in her office? Should she have been on the front bench? So her distress is there for all to see. Let's talk to GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster. Catherine, this comes after the most extraordinary day the day before, when the government's welfare bill was dismantled. U-turn announced halfway through the debate in the Commons, the junior minister contradicting the Secretary of State, Liz Kendall, who said that tightening of disability benefit rules was going to go ahead for new claimants. There was a U-turn. They changed the time of an inquiry to save the bill. Chaos. The next day, the Chancellor, who's being blamed by most Labour MPs for this debacle, comes into the chamber, some form of what I would call perhaps a minor altercation with the Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, and then she's in the chair, and that distress was painful to watch. It went on and on.
Yes, it really did, and it has been a horrific week, I would say, really, for the government, and horrendous, especially for Rachel Reeves, because she's already had this sort of fiscal straitjacket, very little money, and now
she's imposed that straitjacket on herself, of course.
She has, but now these rebel Labour MPs that have forced this huge U-turn have blown a £5 billion black hole in her plans. Where's she going to find that money? So There's so much rumour, as you know, and speculation in Westminster. I was in the chamber yesterday. We could see quite clearly from on high where we sit that she was distressed, but couldn't see the tears till we came off. When we came out for the briefing with the Prime Minister's official spokesman, there was pretty much silence. We all realised that something terrible was going on. I mean, people do not cry.
Never seen it before, ever.
No, never. And very quickly, they said, as the Prime Minister has said repeatedly since, the Chancellor is going nowhere. But it was so striking because when Kemi Badenoch asked him, he did not say she's going to be with me till the next election.
She was specific, Badenoch, in her question. She said, in January, I asked the Prime Minister, is the Chancellor going to be there till the next general election? He said yes. Is that still the case? And he ducked it.
He ducked it. He went on to talk about all their various achievements. He then said at the end how important her role was and how the decisions she was making were the right ones. But it was so obvious. So ever since, they've been saying she's going nowhere. Last night he was on telly saying, we work together, we think together, we are in lockstep. He also said that the tears were, quote, nothing to do with politics. Now, we don't know what the personal...
well, there's a lot of scepticism about that, Catherine.
There is scepticism, but, you know, the Treasury are insistent. There is a personal issue here. We don't know. They won't tell us. And that's potentially understandable. But the timing of it is unfortunate, to put it mildly, that this personal event coincides with the most difficult moments that the government have had. And yes, we know there was an altercation with the Speaker. It seems really that was pretty minor, but that was maybe the straw that broke the camel's back.
He chided her because she was waffling on too long in questions the day before. We know why ministers waffle on at the dispatch box. It's to limit the number of hostile interventions from backbenchers. I can't conceive that such a powerful figure in a government would fall apart over that.
Well,
was it just, or could it have just been the weeks of culminations, the culmination of weeks of stress, because she is being blamed by all Labour MPs for winter fuel, the debacle over the welfare bill. It's not Liz Kendall who presented the bill to the Commons who's getting the flak, it's the Chancellor.
Yes, I mean, the Prime Minister is saying it's nothing to do with politics, but it's been widely reported that she was heard saying to the Speaker, I'm just under so much pressure. Look, she is a human being. This has been an unspeakable mess for a government, not even a year in power. Huge questions about her judgment and from some within the Labour Party. But I think really interesting what happened with the bond markets. The pound went down, the cost of government borrowing went up. That was all when people were speculating, was she fired, was she resigning, what was going on, was she about to leave? But I think the reaction of the bond markets strengthens her position in that it was sending a message saying, we don't like this, what's going on here, and that if she was to be replaced, and, well, who knows, but I don't think that's going to happen, like, imminently. No, but if she was to be replaced, the businesses and the market still see her as the most fiscally credible Chancellor that Labour has or could put forward. So they will worry that if she was removed and somebody else came in who's turned on the spending taps more, as lots of these Labour MPs clearly want, that would go down very, very badly with the city.
Indeed. That's Catherine Forster up to currents, and we'll bring you more on that story because it's a ever-changing story. There is some rumour that she's going to be out and about somewhere today, the Chancellor, which would be probably quite clever.
Can't possibly comment.
We'll see.
We'll have to wait and see.
Now, I'm going to talk to Bev Turner, who is in Henley, the joys of Henley Regatta. Beverly, good morning.
Morning. Yeah, look, we had a few technical issues this morning, but I am delighted to join you now.
Well, it's looking glorious there. Now, before you take us into the joys of the regatta, Bev, I must ask you what your observation on seeing the most powerful, the most senior woman figure in the government, perhaps in the country, literally falling apart emotionally on the front bench. Should she have been there?
I yesterday could see her as two very different people. I think it's important to distinguish between the Chancellor of the Exchequer, as you say, one of the most powerful women in the country, arguably the most powerful woman in the country at the moment, and the human being, which is a working mum with teenagers. And we've all been there, any mother with teenagers. I have, from time to time in the GB News office, maybe I had a little cry in the makeup room. You pull yourself together because kids are hard work and being a working mum is hard work. You pull yourself together and you put your game face on and you go and do the job that you need to do. She obviously was struggling emotionally. Whatever that was, we don't know what personal circumstances might have given rise to that. I suspect it was more than work for her to be sat there feeling like that. She looks utterly overwhelmed. I also think in that situation, when you have a woman who is quite clearly distressed, what do the people around her do? I was disgusted with Kemi Badenoch to try and make some sort of political capital out of it, to say she looked miserable. She wasn't miserable, she was very sad about something. We just don't know what that was. I thought that was a completely awful thing for Kemi Badenoch to do, to draw attention to her. She could have been compassionate about it. She could have even said, Prime Minister, your Chancellor is upset next to you. Does that not worry you? If you want to shine a light on his callous disregard for the fact that she was upset, she could have done that. And also Angela Rayner. Angela Rayner just sat there smiling. I'm sorry, if that was a colleague of mine and she was 2 seats down and she was clearly crying, I would have at least put a hand out and just been like, come on, you're okay, like let's just get through this and we'll go back. She sat there, Angela Rayner, smiling like she was the most important person in the room. I was disappointed in everybody, frankly. But I can distinguish that between the fact that I think her policies are disgusting and risible, and that was a woman that was struggling yesterday, regardless of whether she's doing a good job or not. Should we move to here?
I
to
think
Henley
we
on
should.
Thames, to the
Tell us
Regatta,
all about
to something
it.
a little more cheerful.
Yes, yes. Tell us all about it, Bev.
Well, the only tears that will be here today will be the athletes that will lose, because today may look like a big social occasion, and of course it is a remarkable social occasion. But for the athletes who are here, I'm just in the sporting area right now. This is where the rowers will take their boats from the boat houses here. We can see the blue and white stripy tents. That's where all the boats are stored. The athletes who've been training all year, for years, frankly, to be here. Crews from all around the world. Every single country in the world is represented here this weekend. They take their boats from here. They very slowly row up to the start line, just about 1 kilometre up there, and then they race back down to here. And where we can see this floating, I don't know what you'd call that, the start, the finish line, the judges' tent there, that is where the finish of the race will be. We are going to be here all morning. I'm going to be talking to all sorts of interesting people. Last year I spoke to Ed China. A lot of you will know him. He's a YouTube megastar, mechanic, a TV personality, and he's going to be in one of those beautiful houses over there where I'm going to be in just a moment talking to Ed, and some more locals to find out what Henley Regatta brings to the town. What does it symbolise? Obviously, Britain does a summer of sporting occasions like no other country. We've got Wimbledon, we've got the Silverstone Grand Prix, we've got Ascot, and we've got Henley Regatta. And it really is a very, very special occasion. There's all sorts of youngsters working here this weekend. My own daughter, I've got her a job here this weekend. I think she's pulling pints down there. I might go and catch up with her later as well. But yeah, it's a very special day for this town, a very special day for the country and our sporting calendar. So stay with us until midday. But first of all, let's get some weather.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
High pressure across southern Europe keeps things mostly dry and sunny, staying unusually hot in Italy, breezy in the Greek islands, although nothing particularly unusual about this at this time of year. There are some thunderstorms through northern parts of Italy into Slovenia and Croatia, 1 or 2 inland across Italy as the heat builds because it is again unusually hot. Breezy through the Canaries and warmer than average here. The temperatures do drop off across Italy over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
Should we be paying more for the BBC, do you think?
Yes, in the short term. It's for a cost of a cappuccino a week. You don't only get all the television channels, you get all the radio channels, local news, you get the websites, you get World Service, a significant amount of that. You've got a vast range of things. It's not just a television licence. And the BBC licence fee, in real terms, has gone down about 40% in 15 years. What I think we need is two things. One is an immediate increase, significant increase, so we stabilise the situation.
Go on, how much, Roger? What's the fee? Go on.
Hold on.
Well, tell me how much.
Then, secondly, hold on, we need to have a proper debate publicly about whether we want public service broadcasting, how we want to deliver it, and how we want to pay for it. The BBC has cut as much as it can. We should now have a public debate about what we want.
OK. All right, the BBC's cut as much as it can. I mean, grief. I would love to try to see the BBC try to operate on the kind of budget.
I thought you were chairman, objective chairman here. It was a head-to-head with this lady, and you were going to be an objective chairman.
Yeah, well, you decided not to answer any of my questions. But anyway, June, I'll put this one to you. Well, what do you think about the money?
Yes.
June, what do you think about the money being paid for the BBC? Should we pay more?
In 2020, you lost 80, let's have a look, 80,000. And then by 2023 to 24, that went up to 500,000 licence fees not being paid. That's because they don't want the product. A lot of the reason is the biased side of the news, which is why people watch GB News. The programme making, I can understand the creative part of it, but what you've got to look at from the public's point of view is they pay their licence whether they're using all those facilities or not.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom on GB News. I'm here at Henley Regatta. It's a beautiful day. This is what the Brits do so well, these sorts of sporting occasions. And I've bumped into an old friend of mine, a legend in the world of British sport, Jurgen Grobler. Now, Jurgen, it is so good to see you. You took British crews to gold medal success. You are arguably the most successful coach for British Olympic sports of all time. You coached Redgrave, Pinsent, even that Cracknell fella as well to success. And it's so nice to see you here this morning. Why are you here today now, Jurgen? What does rowing still mean to you?
Okay, I think first I'm a freeman of Henley, so I live in Henley, and there's a really a big event every year, no question. And as a rowing coach, you have to be here. There's no question if you're in the country or not somewhere else. Yeah. It's always so special, and it's fantastic. And the weather, everything helps as well.
Yeah, and you're not coaching the British team anymore, unfortunately, but you're working with the Australians now.
Yes, I think the Australians asked me if I can help them a little bit. And of course, I'm not a good pensioner, and that's fine. If I can still give you some help, I'm happy.
How was retirement then? Not for a man like you. If you've coached sport at that level and you've been up early every morning and you're driven, must have been a bit boring.
For the first time was quite good, but then you feel, you can't. There was no chunks in the garden, the wheat had no chunks, was done. Yeah. So I think in so far it's good having a little bit what I like most, working with rowing.
Yeah, and you're so well liked, and I've seen you seeing all of the old rowers that you used to coach. Some of them are quite old now, actually, it has to be said. But Jurgen, thank you so much. It's so lovely to see you. Right, more from Henley Regatta as the morning goes on. I'm going to be talking to some of the athletes. I'm going to be going over to Ed China and on the boat on a river.
Expect a warm front moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a cooler start today compared with recent days. Dry and bright in the south, but very showery across Scotland, Northern Ireland and then parts of Northern England later on. Plenty of sunshine for much of England and Wales at start of the day. 1 or 2 showers possible here and there, otherwise largely dry. Scotland and Northern Ireland, different story. A keen breeze here, bringing in plenty of showers or longer spells of rain, particularly for Western Scotland and Northern Ireland, making it feel on the cool side, 17 to 19 degrees. Further south, where we do have some sunshine, it will be warm but not as hot as recent weather. Now, into the evening, we'll see those showers slip further east and south into northern England and eastern Scotland. Perhaps the odd rumble of thunder. These will be lively and potentially persistent showery outbreaks in places. They're starting to ease during the evening across Northern Ireland and perhaps western Scotland as well, but they'll begin to appear into North Wales. Elsewhere across England and Wales, a dry end to the day, plenty of clear skies as we go into the evening, and still feeling warm out there, but like I say, we've lost that oppressive heat of recent days. Now we go into Friday morning with some more persistent rain arriving into western and central Scotland. That will ease off initially, but then turn heavier and more persistent later in the day. Temperatures at the start of the day around the mid-teens, but as we go through the morning, it's going to start to feel more humid once again across the south, certainly. Plenty of sunshine through the southern half of the UK, another fine day to come. But further north, we've got more cloud for northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that heavier, more persistent rain returning to western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Perhaps more than 100 millimetres over some of the wetter hills of western Scotland, but it's warm in the south, 27 Celsius.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists are advised to exercise caution on the A40 between Close Farm and Halfway, as ongoing maintenance work has resulted in diversions. In North Tyneside, a broken down vehicle on the A1 northbound has led to the closure of a lane, causing delays of approximately 10 minutes. On the A38 northbound in Staffordshire, lane closures are in place following a collision. Meanwhile, in Northamptonshire, the A45 eastbound is experiencing delays due to a collision between the A5076 and A509. Additionally, train passengers should expect major disruptions affecting services at Stansted Airport. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Very good morning. Welcome to Britain's Newsroom on GB News on a very special sporting weekend. I'm down at Henley Regatta. Andrew.
Morning, Bev. Now, breaking news. The Liverpool football star Diogo Jota has died at the age of 28 in a car crash just 2 weeks after he got married. The Portuguese national football team have said they are devastated. He had 2 young children.
Mr. Speaker, she's pointing at me. She looks absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Labour MPs, yeah, she looks absolutely miserable.
Tears and turmoil. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, sobbing sparks the markets to crash. Number 10 insists she's going nowhere. Were those tears personal or were they political? The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, spoke to GB News earlier.
I think there are lots of people who are watching who will think about some of our own experiences from time to time where we've had things going on in our lives outside of work that sometimes you bring to work with you, and that yesterday was one of those occasions.
And rewiring the NHS, the Prime Minister is going to set out his government's 10-year rescue plan, pledging to revive the service. Can Labour fix it?
I believe they're playing a bit of a game here to delay until, all of us have died, all the nuclear veterans.
Going to be joined in the studio by nuclear veterans sharing their struggle for justice after they were exposed to hazardous material during weapons testing in the 1950s and 1960s. Crete wildfires, at least 1,500 people have been evacuated as a massive fire has ripped through the Greek holiday island. The American rapper Sean Diddy Combs is denied bail after being convicted of prostitution-related offences. Greater Manchester Police have apologised, at last you might say, for decades of grooming gang failures, as the force now investigates more than 1,000 suspects.
I can crack on and get back to normal again, but actually the phase afterwards is really, is a really difficult one.
Roller coaster recovery. The Princess of Wales talking frankly about the pressure of putting on a brave face through cancer treatment and recovery while she was visiting Colchester Hospital.
What a glorious morning it is here on Britain's Newsroom. It is Henley Regatta. It's Thursday. It obviously starts on a Tuesday. It will finish on the Sunday. They're expected there are about 300,000 people flock to this event over these few days. And it really is an event that is full of heritage and history. It's very much conserving, actually, a very British sporting occasion. I don't know whether my lovely camera woman can pan across there. You can see all the athletes. Occasionally you hear the cheers come up as a boat crosses the line. The races are going on. The athletes train all year for this event. And the spectators basically prepare by getting their best clothes on, finding the best seats in the sunshine and popping the champagne corks. It really is a beautiful, special, memorable weekend at Henley Regatta. I'm going to be talking to some very interesting people this morning, so don't go anywhere. We've got the news now with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. We start with that breaking news from the sporting world this morning that Liverpool star Diogo Jota has been killed in a car crash in Spain just 2 weeks after his wedding. The 28-year-old died near Zamora, leaving behind his wife Ruta and their 3 children. In the last few minutes, Portugal's national team has confirmed his death in a statement, saying it's devastated, calling Jota an extraordinary person and a fantastic player. The Portuguese Football Federation has also paid tribute this morning with his brother also confirmed to have died in that crash. Tributes are pouring in from across football, with Gary Neville among those paying tribute this morning in a post on social media saying it is heartbreaking news that Diogo Jota and his brother, we now know, have died in that crash in Spain, adding all my love and best wishes to his family. We'll keep across the latest tributes pouring in from fans and fellow sporting stars this morning. In other news, Sir Keir Starmer has backed Rachel Reeves to stay on as Chancellor for many years, he says, after she was seen crying in the Commons yesterday during Prime Minister's questions. He says they work in lockstep and her tears were over a private matter, not politics or Labour's welfare U-turns. But the emotional scenes rattled financial markets. The pound fell and government borrowing costs jumped. Allies blamed an abrupt exchange with the Speaker before PMQs, while Conservative MPs described it horrible to watch. Greater Manchester Police is now investigating more than 1,000 grooming gang suspects after decades of failure led to a public apology. A new watchdog report says the force has made significant improvements in tackling child sexual abuse. Progress, though, was delayed when council documents were so heavily redacted they were impossible to assess. Those redactions have now been lifted, speeding up key investigations, but inspectors warn the damage done has left victims with a loss of trust. Sir Keir Starmer says a new 10-year NHS plan will reform or die and transform care by shifting services from hospitals into communities and people's homes. The Prime Minister is unveiling what he calls a major programme of renewal after a bruising week in Westminster. The plan promises tech-led preventative care with evening and weekend neighbourhood clinics offering tests, mental health support and even debt advice. By 2030, most outpatient appointments are expected to take place outside hospitals. But critics warn it's undeliverable without fixing staff shortages and the crisis in social care. 4 people are facing terror-related charges today after £7 million of damage was caused to military planes at RAF Brize Norton. Those 4 are accused of breaking onto the Oxfordshire base last month and spraying red paint onto 2 Voyager aircraft. Counter-terror police say the alleged offences had a terrorist connection, a claim the CPS will argue in court today. A group called Palestine Action says it was behind the incident, and it comes a day after MPs voted to ban the group under anti-terror laws. And a massive wildfire is raging out of control on Crete, forcing the evacuation of at least 1,500 people as flames threaten homes and hotels. Fanned by gale force winds on the island, the fire front now stretches over 6 kilometres, with thick smoke cutting visibility and ash falling across the region. Parts of the island have been destroyed, with 4 elderly people hospitalised for smoke inhalation. Boats are being used to rescue some people who have been trapped by fire. That's the news on GB News. Do stay with us for more developments from Spain following that breaking news. Diogo Jota has died in a crash. Now, though, we'll hand you back to Andrew.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Now, more on that breaking news. Liverpool football star Diogo Jota killed in a car crash 2 weeks after he got married. The 28-year-old Portuguese forward was killed in a car crash in northwestern Spain. He's left 3 children behind. Meanwhile, the Portuguese national football team have said they are devastated by the death of the Liverpool forward, who they said was a fantastic player. The GB News reporter Sophie Reaper joins us from Anfield, which is, of course, the home of Liverpool Football Club, who won the Premier League in the last season. Sophie, devastating news for Liverpool.
Indeed, Andrew, and fans of the club here in Liverpool and, of course, around the country and even around the world will be waking up to that news this morning, that tragic news that Diogo Jota has been killed in that car accident. And as you rightly say, he leaves behind his childhood sweetheart, who he married just 2 weeks ago, and 3 young children. In fact, he actually posted on Instagram just yesterday their wedding video with the caption, "A day we will never forget." It's truly, truly tragic, of course. course, he came here to Anfield to play for Liverpool back in September of 2020 for a fee of over £40 million. He's made many appearances, and of course he helped them to win that Premier League title just last season. He also won the FA Cup and the League Cup with Liverpool. He's also an international player for his home nation of Portugal. They won the UEFA Nations League with him. Of course, he also lost. We also know, in fact, that his brother was killed in that car crash. And in a statement, the Portuguese national team have said Diogo Jota was not only a fantastic player with almost 50 caps for the national team, but also an extraordinary person who was respected by all his teammates and opponents. He had a contagious joy and was a reference point in his own community. Now, we are still waiting to hear from Liverpool Football Club this morning to confirm and to give a statement after the loss of their forward, Diogo Jota. But I'm sure in the coming hours and the coming days, we will see Anfield inundated with fans coming to pay their respects, to lay flowers and to leave messages of condolences to Diogo Jota's family, of course, his new bride and their 3 children. Truly tragic news here in Liverpool this morning.
All right, that's Sophie Reaper at Anfield. We'll have more on that terrible news throughout the show. But first now, we want to talk to you about Britain's nuclear test veterans. They're continuing their very long, often lonely fight, and they're expressing mounting frustration over Labour's delayed action on compensation. Just to remind you, back in the 1950s and 60s, servicemen and women were exposed to radiation during weapons testing programmes, resulting in many suffering from long-term health effects. Back in October, you, the GB News viewers and listeners, raised more than £50,000 to fund their reunion at Pontins for later this year. Our reporter, Jack Carson, has this report.
Foundations of a nuclear deterrent that came with a lifetime of sacrifice. In the 50s and 60s, nuclear tests at sites like Christmas Island in the Pacific and Maralinga in Australia saw 39,000 British and Commonwealth servicemen and scientists exposed to high levels of radiation. Documents at the time showed how these tests were not just about the weapons, but also the detailed effects of the explosives on men with and without various types of protection. In opposition in 2022, Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner and Defence Secretary John Healey said they were committed to helping the Veterans Campaign.
The veterans affected by this are not asking for a lot. They simply seek recognition for their suffering.
But the UK remains the only nuclear test country in which there is no scheme at all for compensation and recognition. Your campaign is our campaign.
Today, the Ministry of Defence says ministers have directed teams across the department and atomic weapons establishment to thoroughly examine what information exists regarding medical testing of nuclear test veterans. At Prime Minister's questions last week, the Deputy Prime Minister said it was a matter of priority.
And we're looking into unresolved questions regarding medical records, Mr Speaker, as a matter of priority.
Alan Owen from the campaign group Lab Rats International says the fight is with the heart of the government.
If you look at the other scandals, we had the infected blood scandal and post office scandals. It was easy to give it to somebody else like the post office and give it to Fujitsu, for instance. This is the Ministry of Defence. It's all right having a meeting at a Labour Party conference when you weren't in power. Now you're in power, you've got the power to do something about it.
For veterans like Dennis Hayden, who served at Maralinga, and Terry Hughes, who was witness to the H-bomb test at Christmas Island, there's a lack of accountability for the impact of the tests on them and their families.
I believe they're playing a bit of a game here to delay until, all of us have died, all the nuclear veterans.
My son is unable to have children. I'm convinced it's through the effects of the radiation because it's never happened before in the family.
Daughter of a nuclear test veteran, Susan Musselwhite, says she's angry at the lack of action from government.
Barefaced lied to us. They wanted us to help them to get into power. We've helped them get into power. Why can't they stand up and do the right thing and do what they said? Help us. Because the veterans are dying. They're dying on a daily basis.
There's enormous resilience in this campaign's fight for justice. For the government, pressure is mounting. Jack Carson, GB News.
Well, I'm delighted to say joining us in the studio is Alan Owen from Lab Rats International, and nuclear veterans Brian Armstrong and Malcolm Smith. Gentlemen, good morning to all of you. Lovely to see you again.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we're thrilled to have you back. Watching that film, Brian, did it bring it all back?
Oh, yeah. If I'm allowed to say, since 1952, every single Prime Minister has made us promise after promise after promise and totally blanked everything. I want Keir Starmer to stand up in front of us and say, sorry, boys, we, the government, have made a huge mess up. We need to get this sorted out. And I think we're going to do it quickly.
Now, before we bring Malcolm in, you were an RAF cook on Christmas Island.
I was.
During the tests in the 50s. You were 18 years old. You saw 3 hydrogen bomb detonations at close range. No protective clothing. You shielded your eyes with your hands, for God's sake. That was all. Not even glasses. You've had serious health consequences. You've had more than 90 skin cancers removed. You lost all your teeth by the time you were 20. It was because of this, wasn't it?
Yes. Not only me, many of the other service personnel who were there doing the same thing also lost their teeth at a young age.
And your first wife suffered 13 late-term miscarriages.
Yes.
And lots of congenital heart defects in children in your family.
Yes. Yes. And they're still suffering because my youngest granddaughter now is getting crumbling teeth.
Is she really?
And one of our colleagues, Steve Peirce, his son, Sasha, has got crumbling teeth. A doctor from, I think it's Bulgaria, who was a dentist, and he was saying that he noticed the same thing for the children who were affected by the Chernobyl incident.
Right.
So you can't say that the radiation isn't causing it.
Malcolm, let's bring you into the conversation.
Right.
Can I be impertinent and ask how old you are?
83 now.
You're 83?
Yeah.
And what year were you there?
1960.
Right.
And that year, there was no bombs. We were all lucky that year, the people that was out there.
Right.
But they still had the radiation out there, obviously.
Right. Do you think the government is cynically waiting for people like you to pass away?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you really?
Definitely, yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
How's your health been?
Touch wood. Pretty good. Not too bad. I'm still working. Do 4 days a week.
Are you really?
Yeah. I deliver medication for our local chemist.
Do you really?
Yeah. Every morning, and
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Alan, you're the face of this campaign. You got a pledge from the Prime Minister a year ago. He was leader of the opposition then, I think, that he would see you and the men. Since he's been number 10, what's happened?
I've written to him 3 times, and I've written to John Healey 3 times.
That's the Defence Secretary.
Defence Secretary, who you saw on that clip from Jack there. And we haven't even had a response. Nothing. Not even I'm really sorry, we'll pass this to the Veterans Minister. Absolutely nothing. And I meet with the Office for Veterans Affairs monthly. I meet with the civil servants, and that is on the agenda every month. These guys are 80 years old, and they are crowdfunding for a case against the government. They shouldn't be having to do this. They shouldn't have to have litigation against the government. This shouldn't be a fight. You saw John Healey there in 2022. There's no moral reason why we shouldn't be doing it. We're the only testing country that's not doing it.
How many are left?
We estimate between about 1,500 and 2,000 worldwide, because obviously they did go move around worldwide. But as their age, the average age is now 86.
Right.
We are losing them at an accelerated rate. The curve's not going, it's going this way, an accelerated rate.
And you got involved because your own family was part of this?
Yeah, my father was at Operation Dominic in 1962.
And how was his health because of it?
Unfortunately, he died when he was 52.
Did he really?
Yes.
Do you think it was related?
Absolutely, yeah. My brother died when he was 31 from the same condition.
Brian, how's your health today?
Not good. I've recently had 2 more skin procedures done. I'm waiting for another one that's already registered. And I'm waiting to go into hospital for 2 other problems, which I'm not going to talk about on camera. But I'm not doing well with it.
Right.
Alan, it was me, you weren't there, we presented a letter to the Met Police at New Scotland Yard a month ago, and I've just noticed on a Facebook page, they've just battered it aside. No charges to be answered.
They've given it to Thames Valley Police.
Right.
Because AWRE is in Thames Valley.
Right. Malcolm, this is 1960 for you. This has been going 65 years, this struggle.
I know.
What would you, if you were the Prime Minister's watching, he's got a lot on his plate at the moment, we know that.
Yeah.
But if you had a message to the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State for Defence and the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, who said it was a pretty simple operation.
Like Alan and Brian said, get your finger out and get something done for us. We've got other people that help us, and we've got the Not Forgotten team.
They're a great charity.
Great team, yeah. I mean, I've been lucky. I went Buckingham Palace last year.
I was there.
And I was there this year.
I was there too.
Yeah. May the 16th.
Yes.
I took my son last year,
Lovely.
and I took my sister this year.
Right.
I'm hoping to go next year, take my daughter.
Well, that'll be a lovely
Well,
thing.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
See how I go.
Yeah. Now, Alan, what are you going to do next?
Well, we need a meeting with Keir Starmer or John Healey. That's what we're asking for right now.
The Veterans Minister, who is a former military man.
Yes. In a year, we've had 2 meetings with Alcons for a sum total of an hour and a half. That's how much
Did you take these fellows with you?
I took another different veterans with. But the thing is, when we meet with the OVA, we're meeting with the civil servants. They're at this level.
Yeah.
We need it at this level.
You do.
Sir Keir Starmer, John Healey have the power to do this right now. They could do it right now.
When we think of the veterans, we always think of men, but there are women involved in this too, aren't there?
There were 2 women involved in the service time, but you've got to think of these wives and widows that lost these men early on. My mother never recovered from losing her husband and her son within 18 months of each other.
Yeah.
She never recovered from that. When we do the reunion, which the GB News viewers paid for, which we've now got more coming this year than we ever had before, which is incredible, we have wives and widows come watching these men and seeing them and thinking, why did my husband die so young? It affects everybody, the community and the children like myself and the grandchildren. It's being passed on.
Yeah.
And we had Luke Pollard,
the Defence Minister,
say on a Newsnight interview that the government knows the health consequences and we need to get the truth and justice. Well, if they know, let's do it. It's too slow for these guys.
Well, look, on GB News, we're with you guys, and we're going to support you guys, and we'll make some fuss, and we'll get some questions into number 10. What's going to happen about it?
Brilliant.
And keep up the fight. It's a joy to see you again.
And I'd like to say a humongous thank you for working with us and allowing us to spread this news, because we don't have a lot of help, especially from the lot in Parliament.
Well, I've got to tell you, Brian and Malcolm, when we discussed this on the GB News about a year ago, there was an extraordinary reaction from our viewers and listeners. They were astonished, appalled and horrified, as we all are here at the station, about how badly you've been treated by governments of every political stripe.
And if people go to our website...
Yeah, tell us what it's called.
It's called labrats.international. You put /blood. You will all talk about the blood scandal, and they can help us on that webpage, which would be fantastic.
There we are. Brian's even got his badge. There it is. Can we focus on that? There it is. You've got your blood. You've got.
Yeah.
Here it is. It says on the badge. It's what does it say here? Nuke, blood, scandal. Where am I holding it up to? Which camera? This one? That one. There, can you just about see it, I think. There we are. There we are. You've got it there. There's the badge.
Yeah.
So just remind us again of the website, Alan.
It's labrats.international/blood.
OK. Now, don't listen to this bit, chaps, but I've got to read a statement from the Ministry of Defence who say, "We are deeply grateful to all those who participate in the UK nuclear testing programme and recognise their immense contribution to national security. Ministers have directed teams across the Ministry of Defence and the Atomic Weapons Establishment to thoroughly examine what information exists regarding medical testing of nuclear test veterans." And not a word about compensation. And why has it taken them 64 years? Still ahead. More on that terrible news from Liverpool, the footballer Diogo Jota, who's died aged 28 in a car crash. You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Where Anna Riley, our intrepid reporter, is doing the toughest job in television right now, which is enjoying the sunshine. Anna.
Yes, Tom, it's definitely a tough gig for me today, I'll tell you. I'm on the Bridlington Fun Park ride here. This is the zero gravity ride. This fun park is, off we go. This fun park is right next to the sea. Oh, it goes quite quickly, I'll tell you. And people are out enjoying rides like this one. Off we go. It's a great boost for tourism, and we've been speaking to people here in Bridlington about what's so great about the sunshine. Let's have a listen.
We're on holiday. We've been here since last Friday, so we can't complain. It's been beautiful, and we're here till Monday, so we're really looking forward to the hot weather. As you can see, the sunbed.
It's lovely. It really is very nice. It's absolutely gorgeous. We deserve it, definitely.
It's good. We like the warm weather.
Yes, very nice. Loving it. Yes, like the
warm enough.
weather.
Woo! Well, this ride is showing no signs of stopping, and neither is the sunshine. We're getting that heat wave at the weekend. Enjoy the weather and enjoy fun rides like this one. Get to Bridlington and get to the fun park.
Oh my gosh! Absolute bravo, Anna Riley. What an incredible piece of television. I hope they let you off at some point.
I thought they'd only do it once or twice. Bless her.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10:27. This is Britain's News with Andrew Pearce, and I'm in the studio, and Bev Turner is in glorious Henley Regatta. But first, I'm going to talk again to GB News sports presenter Paul Coyte for more on the terrible news about the death of the footballer Diogo Jota, a Liverpool star of the Portuguese national team, only 28, tragically killed in a car crash in northwestern Spain, and we understand his brother was also killed in that crash. Paul, put this in perspective. He's only got married 2 weeks ago. Childhood sweetheart, 3 lovely children. But the football world is also mourning a big star.
A huge star and a fantastic footballer for Liverpool. You're going to hear a lot of this, and we always hear if anybody passes, there's always tributes about what a wonderful person and how good they were. And with this one, you know, it's so true because he was a fantastic footballer, a fantastic professional. Signed from Wolves, went to Liverpool 4 years ago, won a Premier League and 2 League Cups and an FA Cup. So his pedigree is certainly not in doubt as far as his football's concerned. But I think the most important thing of all, Andrew, and I think this is what we'll all agree, is that it's a 28-year-old. He's basically a boy. He's a 28-year-old, and he's passed away along with his brother. And the family, and like you say, he just got married 10 days ago. He's got 3 young children. It could not be any worse. It's an absolutely heartbreaking story. And what's interesting is that the way the football community is and the way that football fans react to their heroes on the pitch, they feel like they know them. And I think most people who are into sport and into football like I am feel that. And, you know, you call the players out by their first name. They mean a lot to you. And it's very close because when you support a club, it feels like a family. And therefore, when you have someone in the team dies, which is very rare, especially at an age like this, it's all that more poignant and it means that much more. Now, we're going to see loads and loads of tributes. We'll see the flags. We'll see people mourning outside Anfield. That will begin very soon. The same thing, I think, will happen at Wolves because Wolverhampton Wanderers fans are very fond of him too. And it is just the most heartbreaking thing. It happened very late last night in Spain. And we'd heard rumours early this morning. But the thing is, often you get this. You get this with famous people. You get this with social media. But you never know how true it is. But it was confirmed about an hour ago that sure enough, he died. The president of the Portuguese Football Federation has said that the Portuguese Football Federation, all of Portuguese football, are completely devastated by the death of Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva early this morning in Spain. Much more than an amazing player, almost 50 international appearances for the national team. He was an extraordinary person, someone with an infectious joy and a reference in the community itself. And he said, on my behalf and on behalf of the Portuguese Football Federation, I express my deepest condolences to the family and friends of Diogo and Andre, as well as Liverpool FC, FC Penafiel, which is where they both played together when they were young, where they played their football. So it really is just awful, awful news. We will hear more, I'm sure, about the crash, but what does that mean when someone in the prime of their life has passed away in such an awful manner, Andrew?
Absolutely. That's Paul Coyett, our sports presenter, talking about the death of Diogo Jota, who was the Portuguese international, who was a forward for Liverpool Football Club. More on that throughout the day. Now, but first, let's get our 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. The headlines just after 10:30. Liverpool Football Club have released a statement on social media saying it's devastated by the tragic passing of star Diogo Jota. The 28-year-old died in a car crash in Spain alongside his brother. He'd just married and was a father to 3. He's being remembered by Portugal's national team as an extraordinary person. Sir Keir Starmer has backed Rachel Reeves to stay on as Chancellor after emotional scenes in the Commons. She was seen crying during PMQs, sparking market chaos. The pound fell and borrowing costs soared. Allies blame a tense exchange with the Speaker. Greater Manchester Police has launched an investigation into more than 1,000 grooming gang suspects after years of failure. A watchdog report says improvements are being made, but victims still face loss of trust. And the Prime Minister is unveiling a 10-year plan for a neighbourhood health service. The centres will operate 6 days a week, providing everything from health checkups to debt advice, with Sir Keir Starmer calling it reform or die for the NHS. And a wildfire in Crete is burning out of control, forcing thousands to evacuate. Flames threaten homes and hotels, and boats have been used for rescues as smoke and ash spread across the island. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to beautiful Henley Regatta in Oxfordshire. In fact, it's the Oxfordshire-Berkshire border, isn't it, Ed China, who's joined me? Beautiful day.
It's a wonderful day. What a fantastic day for Henley Regatta. Yeah.
It's brilliant. And we're going to be chatting to Ed after this very quick break.
Hello, a very good morning to you and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a cooler start today compared with recent days. Dry and bright in the south, but very showery across Scotland, Northern Ireland and then parts of northern England later on. Plenty of sunshine for much of England and Wales at start of the day. 1 or 2 showers possible here and there, otherwise largely dry. Scotland and Northern Ireland, different story. A keen breeze here, bringing in plenty of showers or longer spells of rain, particularly for Western Scotland and Northern Ireland, making it feel on the cool side, 17 to 19 degrees. Further south, where we do have some sunshine, it will be warm but not as hot as recent weather. Now, into the evening, we'll see those showers slip further east and south into northern England and eastern Scotland. Perhaps the odd rumble of thunder. These will be lively and potentially persistent showery outbreaks in places. They're starting to ease during the evening across Northern Ireland and perhaps Western Scotland as well, but they'll begin to appear into North Wales. Elsewhere across England and Wales, a dry end to the day, plenty of clear skies as we go into the evening, and still feeling warm out there, but like I say, we've lost that oppressive heat of recent days. Now we go into Friday morning with some more persistent rain arriving into western and central Scotland. That'll ease off initially, but then turn heavier and more persistent later in the day. Temperatures at the start of the day around the mid-teens, but as we go through the morning, it's going to start to feel more humid once again across the south, certainly. Plenty of sunshine through the southern half of the UK, another fine day to come. But further north, we've got more cloud for northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that heavier, more persistent rain returning to western Scotland and Northern Ireland, perhaps more than 100 millimetres over some of the wetter hills of western Scotland. But it's warm in the south, 27 Celsius.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M73 northbound on-slip at Junction 2 from Baillieston roundabout is closed for maintenance. Diversions are well signposted. The A40 in both directions between Close Farm and Halfway is closed due to carriageway maintenance with diversions in place. In Bedfordshire, the M1 southbound between Junction 13 and Junction 12 has a collision, with 2 of 4 lanes closed. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast reports major disruption between Lockerbie and Carlisle. Cross-country services are delayed between Chepstow and Gloucester, with significant disruption at Stansted Airport. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Well, the time is 10:36, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, who is in glorious, glorious Henley, where it is the Great Regatta. Now, in the studio is our panel, political commentator John Dennis and the journalist Carol Malone. I have to talk to you first of all. Carol.
Yes.
A powerful woman.
Yes.
The first woman Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Yeah.
She's sitting on the front bench.
Mm-hmm.
And she's blubbing.
Not just crying, weeping buckets. Now, you know, the thing is, no one could look at that on a human level and not feel some degree of sympathy for her. No one wants to see anyone suffering that level of distress. It was horribly uncomfortable to watch. However, Rachel Reeves is the Chancellor of the Exchequer. It's the second most important job in the entire land. And if you're Chancellor, you have to behave like a Chancellor. You cannot be crying. The idea that this is... And what that said to me, basically, was that she is under so much pressure that she can't do her job. Now, in your paper today, Sarah Vine is saying that we should all feel sorry for her because she's a woman, and that what she really needed was a cup of tea and a hug. And a cup of sugary tea, she said, and a hug. And I'm thinking, are you serious? This is not a weak woman. This is a woman who clawed her way into that job, who has been bragging since day one that she was going to fix the country. This is a woman
also made a big virtue of the fact she was the first woman.
First woman Chancellor. So if you're the first woman Chancellor, do not behave. Don't behave like people expect women to behave. You don't see male chancellors crying, not ever in my lifetime anyway. And I just think it's, you know, she clearly is not up to the job. She's clearly under a lot of pressure. And what I was looking at, the people around her, you know, while I think she shouldn't have done that. She should have left the chamber. If, as we're being told, it's a personal matter, she should not have entered the chamber in that state. And Starmer should have told her to go home and sort out whatever it is. But she shouldn't have come in. But the fact that she was in there and crying, I was just looking at all the women around her. They all sat there. They just sat there. Angela Rayner sat there smirking, and I've watched that quite a few times now, and it very much looked like a smirk to me. You had Bridget Phillipson just sitting there. You had all these women watching her concernedly, but doing nothing.
But you could argue that if they had sort of done something demonstrable, that would have drawn attention to it. Might have drawn attention to it.
And
it's
might
very
have lost their
because
jobs. Let me just finish off and then come in, John. I think that nobody went to her, and I think Starmer didn't acknowledge it, because all politicians are snakes. All of them.
No, they're
and
not.
all they care about is their job.
Some of them are, some aren't.
No, most of them are snakes. Starmer is certainly one, and the people around him are snakes. And they didn't give her any comfort. She shouldn't have been crying in the first place, but they didn't.
She shouldn't have been there. I agree with you on that one. I certainly agree with you on that point, that she should have excused herself in the chamber. I mean, if you are the Chancellor, what I find strange about the whole thing is, if you are the Chancellor, you know, and you're going to be sitting next to the Prime Minister's questions, you know that you're going to be broadcast. And if there's any violence, just like we know, we're on television, you know, if something goes viral, a lot of more people will see it than watching it at the time. So if you're in that position, you just make any excuse you can to leave. You're not obliged to stay there. No one's going to... You might have one journalist saying, where's Rachel Reeves? Is it because there's pressure on Rachel Reeves? But no one's going to care about it, really. If politicians miss Prime Minister's questions...
Small earthquake in Peru, nobody dead.
Right,
That's
people miss the MQs for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah, sure.
She's a busy woman. So that's what I find strange about it, that she sat there. That's what I find inexplicable. If you're in tears, you go and take yourself somewhere private.
Does that not tell you she's right on this? To me, this is symbolic of a much wider truth, that this government is in the toilet and that the two people at the top are out of control. We have a Prime Minister who lost all credibility this week after the evisceration of the welfare bill. He allowed himself to be bullied into caving in, and so now we're going to be taxed to hell and back. You know, I heard someone on telly last night, an analyst, saying that what this welfare thing has done, and all the kind of financial problems, I mean, that Reeves now has a real black hole to fill between 15 and 20 billion quid, and she has no idea how she's going to do it. And this is the pressure that she is under. Now, you know, what happened yesterday after all that blubbing, the markets were spooked. I mean, the markets went into meltdowns. There was a £3 billion market sell-off. It increased the UK's borrowing costs. I mean, what does this say to the wider world about what's going on in this country, that we have a Chancellor and floods of tears, we have a Prime Minister that has no authority? You know,
I don't think it's true he has no authority, Carol.
He has none.
He's
now in the hands of the left-wing rebels.
It has clearly been a very, very bad week for the government. Everyone will agree with
like
that.
Every week since
everyone, come on, this has been a particularly bad week, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and deny that. But you know, politics moves very, very fast. It's not only in one direction. I don't think it's irrecoverable. Clearly, there needs to be some changes. I completely agree.
Like what?
Well, I think that they just need to get that act together and have a decent communication strategy.
Well, they brought in a new comms chief. Well, James Lyons. He replaced Matthew Dorr. It's got worse.
My prescriptions, my remedies are going to be different from the ones they'll choose, because clearly I'm more to the left than they are. And I would say, listen to your backbenchers who are trying to sort of course correct and put you on a more progressive path.
But do you not understand now what's happened with him giving in over the welfare bill? He's now sold his soul to those hard left rebels.
There are no hard left rebels, really.
Yes, they are hard.
They've all been kicked out of the party.
They are hard left rebels. And also what that means is, and there was talk yesterday, and Piers, you will have heard this, that, you know, that Starmer has been put on notice that if things don't change before the May local elections, he will be kicked out. Now, that's what the world is seeing now. The world is
OK, but Carol, there's another aspect to this story that we haven't mentioned, which is the total lack of opposition. And I'm not talking about a party that has 5 MPs that is maybe thinking about getting into government.
Why are you moving what happened yesterday onto the Tories?
Because Kenny
Baden
was so completely outrageous in sort of drawing attention. If someone's in tears,
I'm sorry, she did not
she looks completely miserable.
The world could see it by the time she
it was completely wrong for her.
What she did was...
And then her spokesman after that was saying, we should know what this personal reason is. That's kind of outrageous.
Well, it's kind of not. Yeah. Not when you're Chancellor of the Exchequer, and not when you're weeping in front of the world.
Everyone's entitled to have a private life.
Not in front of the world.
Well, that's a separate issue. If you say there's a private reason...
It's a bit of a push, isn't it, that this extraordinary personal reason which reduced the Chancellor to tears came the night after the most humiliating day for a Labour government in decades, and she has been blamed by all Labour MPs for the debacle.
Well, look, I mean, I don't think that it's entirely her fault, and we know...
But Labour MPs are blaming her. And they're not blaming the Welfare Secretary, Liz Kendall. They're not even blaming Starmer, they're blaming her.
OK, fine, but actually the buck does have to stop with the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And what you often find is that, you know, so the Prime Ministers sacrifice key members either of their staff or their cabinet. You know, remember Liz Truss, and lots of people are sort of talking about Keir Starmer, or people in the right-wing press talking about Keir Starmer being the worst Prime Minister of all time, conveniently forgetting Liz Truss. And she got rid of Kwasi Kwarteng desperate attempt to save her job, and then she went a week later.
Did or didn't do doesn't begin to compare what this Labour government has done.
Of course it does, Carol.
No, it hasn't. They've been in government she did not.
Yes,
That's a lie, Jonathan. She did not.
Let's talk about actually what happened today. Can the Chancellor recover her authority?
I think she can. Look, people have short memories in politics.
Well, are you so naive that you believe this is a watershed moment for Reeves? Do you not get that? Do you think people are going to forget? This is what will define her in all the things that happen. You know, when Ed Miliband ate the bacon sandwich, no one knows what his policies were at the time, but they know he ate that bacon sandwich in front of the world. This will define
Carol,
her.
I'm not necessarily denying that, but it doesn't mean that she can't also continue to do her job for I don't know how long. I don't know if she'll be there to the next election for sure, but she's not going to leave today, that's for sure.
He won't sack her now because taxes are going to have to go up in the budget.
Yes, he's blamed her after that.
And she will have to own it because it's on her watch.
Yes.
She said there wouldn't be any need for taxes. I'm not coming back for any more tax rises, she said.
But Andrew,
so she'll have to own it and then she'll go.
But the other thing is that now, in a way, Starmer has tethered his own political fortunes to her because now he's gone on the record as saying that he has confidence in her, she's here to stay, so that will make him look even weaker if she now goes. So I think she has to stay. Look, I think that she gets a lot of unfair coverage. Some of it's just look. She has made mistakes. I've talked about it many times. She also inherited a disastrous legacy.
No, she did not inherit. She said she inherited a 20 billion black hole. She did not. Well, she knew she knew what the state of the country's finances were. But how can you sit there and say she's had unfair press coverage? The woman now has crashed the economy.
She hasn't. If you said that Liz Truss didn't crash, you can't possibly say that Reeves did.
She was single-handedly responsible for a £3 billion market
went down from €1.16 to €1.15. It's not exactly black Monday, is it?
If we could just pause because the Secretary of State for Health, Wes Streeting, is now speaking at this conference about the government's 10-year plan for the NHS. I have a sneaking feeling we will see the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, at this gathering because I think they're going to have to put her out in public. Let's have a little listen to what he's saying.
Intelligence, machine learning and big data offers a golden opportunity to deliver better care for all patients and better value for taxpayers. And we are grabbing that opportunity with both hands. And above all else, we will give power to the patient. It will fulfil Nye Bevan's commitment in 1948 to put a megaphone at the mouth of every patient. We know the British people are counting on us. It falls to us to make sure that the NHS not only survives, but thrives. And we will not let our country down. Because if we succeed, together with the 1.5 million people working in the NHS, we will be able to say with pride that we were the generation that built an NHS fit for the future and a fairer Britain where everyone lives well for longer. And that's the plan we're launching today. Thank you for being here. Now, I'm afraid I have to hot-foot it back to Parliament to make a statement to MPs and take their questions. But before I do, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the woman who is backing our plan for reform with an extra £29 billion worth of investment. It is thanks to her leadership that we've seen interest rates in our country fall 4 times. It's thanks to her leadership that we see wages finally rising faster than the cost of living. And it is thanks to her leadership we have the fastest growing economy in the G7. Please give a warm hand to the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves.
Good luck in Parliament.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be here today. Thank you, Wes, and it's great to be here today also with you, Kia. And today, of course, is the eve of the 77th birthday of our National Health Service. A service, as Wes said, that was created by a Labour government. It was protected by a Labour government in 1997, and we will now be the government that saved our National Health Service. Our 10-year plan will get our NHS back on its feet and make it fit for the future, led by our fantastic NHS staff, and a huge thank you to every single one of you. and funded by the £29 billion that I announced in the spending review last month. I want to be clear, we are spending money on taxpayers' priorities. But that wouldn't have been possible without the measures that we took in the budget last year. We fixed the foundations and we've put our economy back on a strong footing. Our commitment to the fiscal rules has meant that we can boost investment in our public services. The work that we've already done means that we have recruited 1,700 new GPs. We've cut waiting lists and we've delivered 4 million extra appointments in under a year. That's twice as many as we promised, and that wouldn't have been possible without all of you. Making this country fairer for those who have paid in all their lives, by guaranteeing that the NHS will be there when they need it. That's vital for the millions of people who rely on our NHS. But it's also vital for our nation's finances. Because if people have timely treatment, they'll be able to return to work. If NHS staff don't have to spend all their time on endless admin and bureaucracy, then they're free to focus on the care that they are so good at delivering. And if we can prevent illness taking root in the first place, we can save on costly treatment, as well as the huge pain and heartbreak later down the line. So this is the right way forward. Good for the health of our nation and good for the health of our nation's finances. This government will always deliver on the priorities of ordinary working people. And I am proud that with this plan, the NHS will always be there for those who need it, for the next 77 years and many more beyond that too. Thank you very much. Thank you. And it's now my pleasure to welcome the person who's made this possible by winning that Labour victory last year. And without that, we wouldn't be able to fix the foundations of our economy. We wouldn't be able to deliver the free school meals in our primary schools. We wouldn't be able to build the 1.5 million homes. We wouldn't be able to do anything that me and all of our colleagues came in to do. So, Prime Minister, over to you.
So that was Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor. She did not even refer Carol Malone to what happened yesterday when she apparently had such a bad personal problem she was breaking down in tears.
I can't believe that.
We've got to go back to the Prime Minister. We'll come back to you. Prime Minister.
Where's Denise gone? Denise, come and sit down with us. Because Denise's story is fantastic. As she said, she works here, she lives in this borough, and she uses the services here. And what a great testament that is. And Denise, thank you for your introduction. Thank you for your words. And it is a real privilege to be here with you in Stratford. And I've seen the work you're doing this morning. I'm sorry to be interrupting your work. I do understand how hard it is. My mum worked in the NHS. She was a nurse and a very proud nurse with it. My sister worked in the NHS, and my wife still works in the NHS in one of the big London hospitals. So I do understand what you do, how you do it, and what you put in, and why you do it as well. And so let me start by saying a big thank you to all of you for what you do. And if I may, through you, to say thank you to all the NHS staff right across the country who do what they do as public servants because they care about treating and caring for other people. Thank you also for welcoming us here to your neighbourhood health centre, because it's buildings like this here that represent the future of the NHS. And I've just had the chance to go round and see some of the work that's going on here, the 24 teams that you've got working on dentistry. Really pleased to see that you don't necessarily need an appointment. You can walk in. We've got children and families up there on the next floor having their teeth done. Hugely important. And that's what a neighbourhood health service can do, working in partnership with the people that it serves. And Denise, you're the embodiment of that. Power and control in their hands, care closer to their community, services organised around their lives. But look, I'll say a bit more about the future in a minute. But it is important that we go back a year to the NHS as it was left by the last government, with record waiting lists, the lowest ever satisfaction, and I know the toll that that takes on staff who work so hard. 100,000 children waiting more than 6 hours in A&E. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say everything is perfect now. We have a lot more work to do, and we will do it. But let's be under no illusions. Because of the fair choices that we made, the tough Labour decisions we made, the future already looks better for our NHS. And that is the story of this government in a nutshell. It's breakfast clubs, hugely important for children coming in to school so they're ready to learn. Potholes across the country filled. Fuel duty frozen. 4 interest rate cuts, hugely important for mortgage holders. Setting up Great British Energy. Levelling up workers' rights. Record investment in affordable housing. Infrastructure the length and breadth of our country. It's all down to the foundation we laid this year. All down to the path of renewal that we chose, the decisions made by the Chancellor, by Rachel Reeves, which mean we can invest record amounts in the NHS. Already over 6,000 mental health workers recruited, 1,700 new GPs, 170 community diagnostic centres, really important, already open, new surgical hubs, new mental health units, new ambulance sites, record investment right across the system. And because of all that, the results are crystal clear. At the last election a year ago, we promised 2 million extra appointments in the NHS in the first year of a Labour government. We've now delivered 4 million extra appointments, and that's thanks to all your hard work and that of your colleagues. 4 million. That's a record amount for any single year ever. And I want to thank you all for the part that you have played in that. That is what change looks like. A promise made and a promise delivered. And turning those statistics into the human is really important. So let me tell you about Jane, who I've spoken to. At Christmas, she was taken to hospital with back pain, and the diagnosis was not good. She needed her gallbladder removed. And Jane asked, as you can imagine, how long will I have to wait? And they said to her back then, I'm sorry, but at the moment, it could take up to 10 months. But because we've speeded up electives, because we've speeded up appointments, by May, she was offered a private appointment, paid for by the NHS, as part of our plan. And now Jane is pain-free, 5 months, not 10 months, and she's got 5 months back, free from pain, free from anxiety, and in a sense, her life is no longer on hold. That is what change looks like in human terms. That's the difference a Labour government can make. But we have to keep going. We are fixing the foundations. We made choices that no other government would make, and we're starting to repair the damage that's done to the NHS and public health through COVID on austerity. But reform, what we're talking about today, isn't just about fixing problems. It's also about seizing opportunities. And the way I see it, there's an opportunity here. Because the NHS is at a turning point in its history. We're an older society now. Disease has changed. Conditions are chronic, they're long-term. They need to be managed. And that means we need to reform the NHS, to make it fit for the future. And with the technology that is available to us now, we have an unprecedented chance to do that, to make care better, to transform the relationship between people and the state, to give patients more power and control. And this is about fairness. Millions of people across Britain no longer feel that they get a fair deal. And it's starting to affect the pride, the hope, the optimism that they have in this great country. And our job is to change that. And the NHS is a huge part of it. I mean, for 77 years this weekend, the NHS has been the embodiment, if you like, of British pride, of hope, that basic sense of fairness and decency. 77 years of everyone paying in, working hard, doing the right thing, secure in the knowledge that if they or their family needs it, the NHS will be there for them. In 10 years' time, when this plan has run its course, I want people to say that this was the moment, this was the government that secured those values for the future. And look, when people are uncertain about the deal they're getting from this country, what fairer way is there to respond than that? By giving them more control, by partnering with them to build an NHS that is fit to face the future. And that is what this plan that we are launching today will do. It will do so in 3 ways, 3 shifts, if you like, that will transform healthcare in this country. First, we will shift the NHS away from being only a sickness service to a health service that is genuinely preventative, prevents diseases in the first place. That means a stronger focus on vaccination, on screening, early diagnosis, things like innovative weight loss services, which can be available in pharmacies, working with major food businesses to make their products healthier, better mental health support, particularly for our young people. And starting with children aged 16 this year, we will raise the first entirely smoke-free generation. Second, we will shift the NHS away from being a hospital-dominated service to being a community neighbourhood health service. You can see why we chose to come here. Places like this are the future of our NHS. As I say, you don't have to book an appointment. You can walk in. There are families here. People live in this area. It is local to them. Now, of course, we will always need hospitals. They will always be important for acute services in particular. But, as I say, disease has changed, and we must change with it. And not only can we do that, we can do it in a way that improves care and convenience for millions of people. So just imagine it, nurses, doctors, pharmacists, dentists, carers, health visitors, all under one roof. But also alongside them, services like debt advice, employment support, smoking cessation, preventative services, which we know are so crucial for a healthy life. Now that is an exciting prospect. You know, the idea that the future of healthcare is no longer defined by top-down citadels of the central state, but is instead in your home, in your community, in your hands. That is an inspiring vision of change. It will bring the state and the people it serves into a partnership on something that we all care deeply about. But more importantly, it means a future where we have better GP access, no more 8 a.m. scrambles, more dental care for your children, better care on your doorstep, and a neighbourhood health centre like this in our coastal towns, in our rural counties, in every community across the country, every community across the country. Finally, the third shift, from the analogue NHS that we have at the moment to a truly digital health service, a health service capable of seizing the enormous opportunities that are there in science and technology, in genomics, in artificial intelligence, advanced robotics. And look, all of you will have seen in your everyday lives what this can do, and I've seen some of it as well. I've spoken to stroke patients whose lives have literally been saved by technology and AI because it could find the blood clot in their brain in milliseconds, giving them just enough time to be operated on and saving their lives. So this plan, this 10-year plan, backs technology to deliver because it can and will save thousands of lives. But it's not just about saving lives. AI and technology is an opportunity to make services more human. That always sounds counterintuitive that AI and technology make us more human. But it does, because what it gives all of you and all of your colleagues is more time to care, more time to do the things that only human beings can do, which is that care that is needed, the professional skills that you have. So this will make it a more human service as well. And it's not just cutting-edge stuff. Technology like phones in the pockets of everyone in this room. We can make use of that as well. Now, it's not often I invite people to look at their phones when I'm making a speech, but if you get your phone out and look, you've got lots of apps on your phone. Seriously, because what you're going to see on your screen if you have a look at it is that entire industries have reorganised around apps. Retail knows the power of it, transport, finance, weather, you name it, shopping. Why can't we do that with health? Why can't we have that app on your phone? Why not the NHS app on your phone? Making use of the same dynamic force to cut waiting lists at your hospital, to make it easier to book an appointment with your GP, to give you more control over our health. There is no good reason why we can't. And so I'm announcing today, as part of this plan, that we can and we will transform the NHS app so that it becomes an indispensable part of life for everyone. It will become, as technology develops, like having a doctor in your pocket, providing you with 24 hours advice, 7 days a week. An NHS that really is always there when you need it. Booking appointments at your convenience, ordering your prescriptions, guiding you perhaps to local charities or businesses that can improve your well-being. And perhaps most importantly, holding all healthcare data in an easily accessible single patient record. Now, don't underestimate just how important that is. I've been up to Alderhay Hospital in Liverpool many times. It's a children's hospital. It's a brilliant hospital. And one of the times I was there, I went onto the ward where particularly young children were having heart surgery. I have to tell you, it was really humbling, both seeing what the children were going through and what the professional staff were doing. And when I went into a particular ward, I saw a 2-year-old boy who had just had major heart surgery. It's an incredible thing to see. And I spoke to his parents, who were, as you would expect, at his bedside, where they'd been throughout. And one of the things they raised with me is the distress that they felt, that they had to go through every condition he'd had and what happened to him, how it impacted him over and over and over again, when they went to Blackpool, when they went to Liverpool, when they got to Alderhay. And they were actually welling up, telling me, it's a really difficult story for us. This is really hard. And we don't want to keep on having to repeat it. Why couldn't it have been recorded in some accessible form the first time round? And I will remember their faces and that story they told me for a very, very long time. And we can fix that. We can make it more accessible. We can bring this together in one place. And there are other examples as well. That red book that every parent gets when they have a child, why can't that be digital? There's no good reason. And so that is exactly what we will do. We will turn this app into a new front door for the entire NHS, a reformed, modernised and renewed neighbourhood health service. So that is the plan that we will launch today. That is the change we will deliver, the difference a Labour government makes. The NHS on its feet, facing the future, delivering fairness and security for working people. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's a bit hot in here, isn't it?
I'm sweating, absolutely sweating. It's unbelievable. I'm sorry, I'm making you look like a sweaty mess.
Keep the media question short. Thank you all very much. I'm going to take a number of questions from the media now. We're going to keep them relatively short and free because the staff are getting very hot. So in their interests, we'll take questions. And I'm going to start with the BBC and Hugh Pym.
Thank you, Prime Minister. When will you be able to assure patients that they will be able to see a GP more easily, they'll get the mental health support they need, and they won't have to wait long hours in A&E? And another briefly, would the Chancellor like to comment on her experience in the Commons over the last 24 hours?
On the question of when you'll see the change, it's a 10-year plan, but we're already starting on the change. And Hugh, if you haven't had the opportunity, I would recommend walking around here, because a lot of what I've been describing in terms of neighbourhood centres you will see here. Not all of it, of course, but you will see the teams doing the dentistry, people walking in. And that is both incredible to have that in your community, but it ties in with my experience in Alderhay. I think you may have been there when I was there, when one of the shocking statistics, and it really did shock me, was to learn that between the ages of 8 to 12, more children come to Alderhay to have their teeth taken out because of decay than anything else. And so some of that is being dealt with the preventative measures here. So some of it is starting already. The technology is moving on. Some of it will take a bit longer because the neighbourhood centres have to be put together and the services all brought to one place. It is a 10-year plan, but we're beginning on it already. And what I have, my intention and determination is that as we look back proudly at the Labour government that created the NHS, and we do, and celebrate it, and that's a good thing, I want in 10, 20, 30 years people to look back and say, this was the government that seized the moment and reformed the NHS so that it's fit for the future and is still celebrated year after year after year. In relation to the Chancellor, I'm not going to stand here and speak for the Chancellor, but as she's made clear on a number of occasions, yesterday was a personal issue, and I'm certainly not going to say anything more about that. I think it's just fantastic that she is here, and as I say, none of this would be happening if she hadn't taken the decisions that she's taken. So she took those decisions, and she'll be taking them for many years to come. Thank you, Hugh. Beth at Sky.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Beth Rigby, Sky News. PM, your first-year anniversary has been marked by a self-inflicted shambles over welfare that's left you and your Chancellor wounded. You've U-turned on your reforms, your MPs don't trust you, and markets worry that you've lost resolve on fiscal discipline. It's the epitome, isn't it, of sticking plaster politics and chaos that you promised voters you would end. You say it's your responsibility, so can you explain to our viewers how you got this so wrong and what you intend to do to rebuild your trust and authority in your party? And if I may, I know it's long, sorry. Chancellor, first, it's really good to see you today. It's really good to see you here. But Prime Minister, I have to ask you, on a human level, people were shocked and baffled that in the Commons yesterday you did not offer your Chancellor your support. Was it because you didn't see what was happening, or did you not know what to do? Thank you.
Well, Beth, let me just clear that up straight away. I didn't appreciate what was happening because, as you'll probably appreciate, the PMQs is pretty wired. It goes from question to question, and I'm literally up, down, question, looking at who's asking me a question, thinking about my response and getting up and answering it. And so it wasn't just yesterday. No Prime Minister ever has had side conversations during PMQs. It does happen in other debates when there's a bit more time, but in PMQs, it is bang, bang, bang. That's what it was yesterday, and therefore I was probably the last to appreciate anything else going on in the chamber. That's just a straightforward human explanation. Common sense explanation, if you like. In relation to your invitation to tell your viewers what we've achieved in the first year of the Labour government, I'm very pleased to say we've brought down waiting lists. We promised 2 million extra appointments. We've delivered 4 million extra appointments. We've begun the project to build 1.5 million houses, particularly social and affordable houses. In schools, we have introduced breakfast clubs, really important for children so they're ready to learn when they get to school. We've rolled out free school meals to 500,000 more children, hugely important to them. We're just doing more on childcare. That comes on stream in September. So that is 9 months to 4 years free childcare across the country. We're ramping up and introducing the biggest upgrade in employment rights for a generation. We've got record investment into the country. Just last week, Amazon put in 40 billion investment into this country in jobs. That's one of the biggest single investments that has ever been made, and that brings the total for the year to £120 billion. These are companies, global companies and finances, who don't have to put that into the United Kingdom. They're choosing to put it into the United Kingdom because they've got confidence in what we're doing, confidence in the fiscal rules that the Chancellor has crafted so well. We've delivered a defence uplift to 2.5% and made it clear it will be felt in every community, in jobs. We've created hubs so that local businesses, small businesses benefit from that. We've delivered 3 trade deals, which governments tried for a long time. The US trade deal was talked about for I don't know how many prime ministers. Who came along and delivered it? This prime minister with this Labour government. The India deal, I think, was talked about for 8 years. Who came along and delivered it? This Labour government. And of course the EU-UK reset. And only a few weeks ago, many people were saying to me, you can't have a US deal and an EU deal, Keir. You've got to choose one or the other. And we've got both. And it's measured, Beth, by the thing that matters most to me, which is improving the lives of working people. And that trade deal with America was hugely important to JLR and the car manufacturing sector. And equally, the SPS agreement with the EU will bring down prices in supermarkets across the country. I could go on, Beth, but it's a long list of achievements of this Labour government, and I'm really, really proud of them.
You had to collapse your welfare reforms because you were going to lose a vote in the House of Commons. Are you just in denial? You've totally ignored my question.
No, I'm not, and we didn't get the process there right, but I think it's right that if we're looking at the entire year, that we look at all the things we've delivered, and I always do this through the eyes of the working people up and down the country that we came into government to serve, that really mattered to me. I actually gathered them in the back garden of Downing Street the other day. These are all the people I'd met along the way in the campaign trail, people working in the public sector, people doing campaigns, people who put in every day. I got them back, partly to show what we delivered on the commitments we made to them, partly to make sure that we always have them in our mind's eye. And they are very, very pleased that we've delivered waiting list down, that there's housing they're going to be able to afford, that their schools are looking better, their hospitals are looking better, record investment, and all those people whose jobs are going to be either secure under JLR or created under the other investments coming in. That is what matters to me, and it's really important that I stand up and be absolutely clear. I'm very clear. I'm very proud of the decisions we've made. They were tough decisions, they were the right decisions, but only because we took them that we got this platform that we can now build on. Thank you very much, Beth. I've got Rebecca from ITV. Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca Barry, health correspondent, ITV News. Prime Minister, given the current workforce crisis in the NHS, how will you ensure there are enough staff to provide these neighbourhood services? And on the Chancellor being here today, many members of the public will be concerned about her. How is she today, and is she here simply to calm the markets?
No, she's here because she's the Chancellor. The plan that we are delivering today is only deliverable because she took the decisions that needed to be taken and allocated the money for this plan. And so that is why she's here today, and I'm very glad that she is. In relation to the workforce, we have got obviously a workforce plan, and we're working with the workforce on it. The big difference between a year ago and now is that a year ago, the government was blaming the workforce for their failures. So when the past Prime Minister was asked, why aren't you hitting waiting list targets, he said, it's not my fault, it's their fault. We came along and we said, we'll work with you. And we'll get you off the picket line onto the front line. We put together a plan for the year, which we launched in the beginning of this year. That was signed by the Secretary of State and signed by the NHS. And this plan we're launching today was not something the government dreamt up and sort of imposed top-down on the staff. It was, Wes Streeting went through this, it was consulted on widely, both with staff who participated and communities that they serve. And so they recognise in this plan what their patients, their communities have always said to them. And that's why I'm really pleased that we're working together on this plan. And that's why I know that it is achievable, deliverable, and it is heartening, and I said this to the staff, to see some of it already happening right here in Stratford. Thank you very much. I've got Gary from Channel 4.
Thank you, Prime Minister. The Chancellor's said in the past that when it comes to the budget, you won't be, during this government, coming back for anything like the tax hikes in the last budget. Can you actually, hand on heart, repeat that now? Because after this week, a lot of experts, a lot of people in the city think you probably can't and maybe shouldn't.
Well, Gary, first of all, let me say what every Prime Minister or Chancellor says any time they're asked about a future budget, because it's always the same. This isn't a Labour answer or a Conservative answer, but no Prime Minister or Chancellor is going to write a budget in advance. But we did really tough stuff in that budget of last year. We made sure that we stabilised the economy, and we took the big and heavy decisions early on. And that's what we meant by what we said when the Chancellor said that before. It's what I mean and say again today. We've done a lot of the heavy lifting. We've done a lot of the hard yards. As a result of that, we're turning our economy around. The fastest growth in the G7 in the first quarter of this year, business confidence at a 9-year high, and record investment. In the end, that's what drives growth, and that's what we were saying a year ago at the other side of the election, and I say it again here today. Thank you, Gary.
Doing yesterday, because it looked rather serious for a while.
Well, Gary,
a lot of people were worried. What they were saying was they weren't sure a Labour government, maybe without Rachel Reeves in it, would balance the books.
Well, Gary, again, I think, as you know, it's unwise, and politicians don't comment on markets, and I'm not going to do so. Thank you. Andy from Channel 5.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Andy Bell, 5 News. Can I also say, good to see the Chancellor here after yesterday, and would invite her again if she would like to say a few words about what happened yesterday and her reflections on that. I'll leave you to think about that for a moment. But Prime Minister, what people did see yesterday, whatever the cause in the Commons, was a Chancellor clearly under enormous pressure. Do you worry that this is becoming too much pressure for your Chancellor?
No, I have every faith in my Chancellor. She has made incredibly important decisions in the last 12 months, and we wouldn't be doing what we're doing today without those important decisions. We work in lockstep and will continue to do so for a very long time. And that is a good thing for the government. It's a good thing for the country. Thank you. Chris at GBN. GB.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Your benefits climb down this week was humiliating, but for many it's depressing because only a Labour government can properly reform the benefits system. Outside of the Timms review, is benefits reform off the table? And how will you meet the £6 billion black hole this autumn, tax rises or borrowing? And just finally, a duty of care to your team. Will you have a word with Lindsay Hoyle about what you said to the Chancellor in future, or anybody else?
I won't comment on the second issue, Chris, as you'd expect. But look, no, we are pressing on with reform. It is important that we reform the system. Welfare isn't working. The 2 examples that stick with me most are the 1 million young people who are neither earning or learning. That is not good. That is not progressive. No government should be satisfied with that, and I'm not. And we got 3 million people out of work through ill health. Again, I'm not satisfied with that. And I know, from having seen it for myself, how hard it is for some people to get back into work. I've seen and talked to people who have been through ill health and want to get back into the workforce. There's slight trepidation of doing so, fearing even trying, and that's why what we're putting in place, the right to try, for example, it may seem like a small thing. It is a huge thing for people who want to get back into work. The bill that we delivered on Monday obviously rebalances universal credit. That's been long overdue, and ensures that those with the severest disabilities don't go through unnecessary reassessments. That's been called for a very, very long time, and it's the right thing to do. And of course, Stephen Timms will now conduct this review. And I don't think you'll find anyone in Parliament who doesn't think that Stephen Timms is a thoroughly decent man of huge integrity, that we can have faith in to do the review and make the changes that are necessary. Thank you very much, Chris.
Mr. Prime Minister, talking to our very own Chris Hope there at this press conference today. Now, Catherine Forster's with me in the studio, our political correspondent. He'll be hoping vainly that the media is going to focus on their 10-year plan for the NHS, but what's going to be the big story, the appearance of the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves. She spoke very briefly, no reference to what happened yesterday. Whatever the personal issue was that drove her to tears yesterday, she's managed to put under some form of control. We're none the wiser about whether there was a personal issue or not, of course.
No, we're none the wiser, but what a difference a day makes. She looked like an entirely different woman, didn't she? She was all smiles, the bags under the eyes, the tears, totally, totally different. And of course, this moment should have been a great moment for the government, announcing this 10-year plan for reform of the NHS. Wes Streeting saying he's going to put a megaphone at the mouth of every patient, and we will not let the country down. We know how much People care about the NHS and the dreadful state that it's been in. And yet, here we are just a day or so before their first anniversary. This is totally, we saw it in the questions, totally overshadowed by welfare, the climb down, and by Rachel Reeves in tears. And I thought it was interesting how he said that he basically hadn't realised yesterday in PMQs.
Now let's just think about that, because he's at the dispatch box. He's just a few feet in front of his Chancellor, who's sitting behind him, and he sits. And the crying, the distress went on for quite a while, Catherine. At some of the point, he would have been sat down next to her.
Yes.
Would he not have noticed when he was sitting next to her that his Chancellor was visibly distressed?
Well, he says he didn't appreciate what was happening. PMQs is pretty wild. He was looking at his notes. He said, you know, it's bang, bang, bang.
Do you think that's plausible?
I think it is plausible. Obviously, I was up in the press gallery. I was a long way away. I could see she was upset, but I couldn't see she was crying. But, you know, if you are in that zone, you're looking at Kemi Badenoch, you're looking... I think it is possible. I think it is possible. But, you know, so many questions about Rachel Reeves. He did not want to answer them. They want to talk about their achievements. It's great that they've delivered 4 million extra appointments when they said 2 million. That's good. But a lot of it, I felt, was about bigging up Rachel Reeves, sending a message, there's nothing to see here. Wes Streeting hyped her up, saying, you know, it's because of her that we've got this extra 29 billion for the NHS, because of the decisions she's made. And the Prime Minister doing the same. So much of this is sending a message. Rachel Reeves is going nowhere. We are on the right track, but my goodness, they might think they're on the right track. They have got some achievements, of course they have, but a year on from that election, their poll ratings are horrendous. Nigel Farage, bookies' favourite to be the next Prime Minister, and the welfare, the whole of the last week, I would say, has been a disaster. A disaster for them, and how on earth are they ever going to take on this ballooning welfare budget?
And just finally on that, Catherine, I think welfare reform is now completely off the agenda for this government. They're not going to go near it because it's too toxic for these backbench MPs who scented blood and power, and they forced a stunning U-turn. They forced a stunning U-turn on winter fuel. What's the next one?
Well, the next one would likely be they want to scrap the two-child benefit cap. That would cost, I think, maybe £2.5 billion. It's something that the government wanted to do. I would think that was highly unlikely. But yes, as you say, they've scented blood. They've learned that if there's enough of them and they don't like something that Rachel Reeves and the PM are putting forward, they can just say no. I think that's got very profound consequences for this government going forwards. I mean, we're only a year in. We've got 4 more years to go. But the last few days, I mean, you really couldn't have made it up, could you?
You certainly couldn't. You certainly. Catherine Forster, who is our political correspondent, and we'll bring you more on that throughout the day. Now, more on that extraordinary breaking news story, very sad news, tragic news. The Liverpool football star, Jota, has been killed in a car crash just 2 weeks after he got married. He was only 28. He was a Portuguese international. He died in a car crash in northwestern Spain. He's left 3 children behind and, of course, his new wife. His brother also died in the same crash. The Portuguese national football team say they are devastated by the death of the Liverpool forward, who was a fantastic player. Well, let's talk to the former professional footballer, Mickey Quinn, who joins us now. Mickey, morning to you. Terrible, terrible news when anybody of 28 dies. A family man lost his brother too. 3 children have lost their dad. Wife has lost her husband. And you will tell me, I'm sure, he was a remarkable footballer too.
He was all them, Andrew. Good morning. But I think it's a shock when somebody so young has their life taken like that. First of all, for all the family, friends, former teammates, when the news just hit. And then, of course, professionally, from the clubs that he's played for, his country. Ironically, Andrew, he's probably had, putting to one side the birth of his children, the best 5 weeks of his life, really. He won the Premier League with Liverpool back end of May. He won the Nations League with his country, Portugal, and then got married just 11 days ago to his partner. So happy, and then life can be so cruel when it's taken away so quickly with this car crash.
Why was he so special on the pitch, Mickey?
Do you know what? His personality for me, I'm a lifelong Liverpool fan as well, so take me both ways. he came to Liverpool when COVID was on, and he had to almost force himself into the team, Andrew, because if you remember, they had Salah, Firmino, you know, and Mane, and he couldn't quite get in there. So Klopp sort of played him as an extra striker, and then he got himself in there. Every time he stepped up for Liverpool, every time he put that shirt on, he seemed to score important goals. And I go back as recently as the end of the season, he scored the winner against Everton in the Merseyside derby. He scored an equaliser against Nottingham. I can go back to cup competitions against Chelsea. In penalty shootouts, he showed the bottle and tenacity to score in them games. He's a winner. And he played the game with a smile on his face as well, Andrew, which related to the fans. He's probably not going to be remembered worldwide football fans as the biggest Liverpool star, but Liverpool fans loved him and took him to the heart. And he's a special. He has been a special player for Liverpool Football Club.
And on that, Mickey, football's like a religion in Liverpool, isn't it? And so the fans at Anfield will be already in a state of mourning.
It is, and they say the football family in Liverpool, it's so tight-knit, the family, Andrew. If you look back at all the achievements Liverpool have done and then the tragedy that's come with that football club, it gets them to a tighter bond with them football fans, and they will obviously honour him. The first Premier League game, I think, is Liverpool at Anfield in August, and they'll do something special that night as well. So yeah, memories of Diogo Jota is just that he was a football star, but as a person, he's leaving behind his family, his friends, and his children, and that's so sad. I lost a brother, age 25, Andrew, so I know you never get over it. Really, you think of them every day, and it's just so sad. But he certainly, on a positive note, put a lot of smiles on Liverpool fans' faces and his country's faces as well.
All right, that's the former professional footballer, Mickey Quinn. Thanks so much for joining us. So let's go to GB News reporter Sophie Reaper, who joins us from Anfield, which, of course, is the home of Liverpool Football Club. Sophie, morning. I imagine there's already many people turning up to pay their respects and their tributes to this wonderful young man.
Absolutely, Andrew. We've already seen hundreds of fans here at Anfield this morning. Within less than an hour of that news breaking that Diogo Jota had been killed, we've already seen, as I say, hundreds of fans gather here to lay tributes, to lay Liverpool shirts and flowers. We can see there's already an Everton shirt and a Crystal Palace shirt, just showing the impacts that Diogo Jota had, not just for Liverpool fans, but for fans of football in general. And I'm sure over the coming hours, the coming days, in fact, that those tributes will continue to pour in. We've also seen several big figures in the sport. Jamie Carragher in the last few minutes saying he finds himself in a state of shock. We've also had a statement on X from Cristiano Ronaldo, his Portuguese national team comrade. He says it just doesn't make sense. Just now we were together in the national team, and now you've gotten married. To your family, your wife and your children, I send my condolences, and I wish you all the strength in the world. I know you'll always be with them. Rest in peace, Diogo and Andre. We'll all miss you. That's from Cristiano Ronaldo there. And I'm sure, as I say, over the coming days and weeks, that there'll be many tributes pouring in. Of course, Liverpool is a team that always pulls together. We had the chance to speak to some fans earlier on today, and they told me about how heartbroken they've been about this tragic news.
No words, devastated. I was sat in my hotel room. I'm only in the area for 3 days for work. Sat in the hotel room just doing a little bit of work on the laptop when it broke, and it just completely knocked the stuffing out of me. And automatically I thought, I'm up here, let's get over to the ground, let's lay some flowers down, pay my respects to Diogo. Cracking striker.
It's like you've lost somebody that you really know and you're really close to. I mean, Liverpool is a family club, isn't it? And it's just absolutely devastating news for everybody involved, concerned. His poor wife, his children, his mother and father losing 2 sons at the same time. I mean, football pales into insignificance at times like this, but Liverpool Football Club are a club that'll stay together through anything.
Well, as we heard there, it is a family club, Liverpool Football Club, and that in times of tragedy, they will always come together. And despite this tragic death, that here in Liverpool, you'll never walk alone.
Thanks for that. That's GB News reporter Sophie Reaper at Anfield, and we'll bring you more as we hear. If you're just tuning in, Diogo Jota, the Liverpool footballer, only 28 years old, got married just 11 days ago, got 3 young children, killed in a car crash which also took the life of his brother. Now, let's get a 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
11:30, the top story from the newsroom. Sir Keir Starmer says the death of Diogo Jota is devastating news and that millions of Liverpool football fans will be shocked. The 28-year-old died in a car crash in Spain alongside his brother. He's being remembered today by fans as a fantastic player.
Just devastating. I can't put anything into words at the moment.
Liverpool is a family club, isn't it? And it's just absolutely devastating news.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is unveiling a 10-year vision to bring care closer to people's homes, saying the future already looks better for the NHS under Labour. And in a surprise move, Rachel Reeves arrived alongside the Prime Minister in London, making her first appearance since she was seen crying in the Commons.
This government will always deliver on the priorities of ordinary working people. And I am proud that with this plan, the NHS will always be there for those who need it, for the next 77 years and many more beyond that too.
Greater Manchester Police has launched an investigation into more than 1,000 grooming gang suspects after years of failure. A watchdog report says improvements are being made, but victims still face an irrecoverable loss of trust. And a wildfire in Crete is burning out of control. Flames threaten homes and hotels. Boats have been used for rescues as smoke and ash spreads across the island. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with more news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
And I'm here in the studio in London, and Bev Turner is in Henley for us today. Bev, what exactly are you doing there and why? It looks rather stunning, I must say.
Very good morning. Yes, it's obviously a sad day for sport with the news this morning, but here in Henley, athletes are very focused on the racing that they have to do. They've trained all year for this. Of course, the crowds are not focused on the racing. They're focused on the PIMS, on the catering, on the incredible occasion. It is an absolute celebration of everything that we do well in this country, bringing people together. Union Jacks everywhere. I'm here at Marketplace in Henley, and you can see the bunting is festooned all down the road. I'm going to be heading back to the river in just a moment, so don't go anywhere.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a settled day ahead for many. Plenty of warm sunshine to go around. A different story across northern areas though. More cloud, outbreaks of rain moving through here, all thanks to this area of low pressure sweeping in, some strong winds at times, and also cloud, outbreaks of rain mainly across Scotland and parts of Northern Ireland. Now this rain could turn heavy and blustery at times, so it's set to be quite an unsettled day, particularly through the afternoon. But elsewhere across England and Wales, plenty of sunny spells to go around, and it should feel warm in the sunshine still, highs reaching around 26 degrees Celsius, but always that little bit fresher across the north, temperatures in the mid to high teens here. Now to finish off the day across Scotland, it still remains to be unsettled. Some heavy showery outbreaks still moving their way eastwards across the country, once again turning heavy and blustery at times. Still the chance of showers across Northern Ireland, perhaps even moving into parts of Cumbria later into the afternoon. But once again, elsewhere across England and Wales, it should be a dry evening to come, and it remains that way as we head through the evening. Plenty of clear skies, a fresher feeling night if you compare it to earlier in the week as well. Showers still set to continue, drifting their way eastwards across northern areas, and then a band of longer, more persistent outbreaks of rain starting to sweep their way in across western parts of Scotland through the early hours of the morning, and once again winds really starting to pick up here too, but lows reaching around 10 to 11 degrees Celsius across the north. Now, once again, another unsettled day across Scotland, Northern Ireland. We do have a yellow Met Office warning issued for western parts of Scotland as we head through Friday and into Saturday. So this could create some difficult driving conditions. Take care if you are out and about. But once again, across the rest of England and Wales, light winds and still feeling warm and pleasant in the sunshine. Highs of 27 degrees Celsius.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Well, back in the studio with the political commentator John Tillis and the journalist Karen Malone. Well, there was the Chancellor, the worst-kept secret in Westminster as far as I was absolutely convinced she would be there. She had to be there because the Prime Minister told us last night she's going nowhere. She's going to be there right to the general election. I'd be surprised by that. Did it work?
Absolutely not. It looked so fake, so forced. You know, we were told yesterday that she had a serious personal issue. And then, you know, when it's just as it comes, now she's been sent out to help launch the NHS's health plan, looking like she's just won the lottery. I mean, she looks happy, 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 happy. And you know, she didn't...
I think the makeup artist must have worked very, very hard.
She did not utter a sentence where that smile was not there, which is totally not... It's totally abnormal. It looked weird. And I just thought, you know, so if she had a deeply personal issue, she wouldn't be feeling better today, so it would be very cool of her party to wheel her out. But the fact is, you know, who knows if she had a personal issue, but they had to do a PR exercise to make it look like all was well with the world. And what really got me about Starmer was he said he didn't know she was crying.
No, you don't buy that.
I don't buy it for a nanosecond. Everyone in the Commons looked uncomfortable yesterday. How can he not see or even hear? Because she was snivelling, she was making it. How could he not see that? I mean, that's an idiotic thing to say. It's trying to excuse the fact that he did nothing and he just let it happen.
Jonathan, do you think it's plausible that he didn't know? Bearing in mind, he wasn't just at the dispatch box while this was going on. He would then sit down, waiting for the next question from Kemi Badenoch. When she actually says the Prime Minister's looking, the Chancellor's looking miserable, did he not look at her and see how distressed she was? He claims he didn't notice.
I don't know.
Well, what do you think?
You'd have thought that he would have known, that any of us would know if someone sitting next to us is visibly distressed.
Bearing in mind, I know it's a bear pit, but it's unprecedented for a minister on the front bench in a sitting down, sedentary position, as they say in Parliament speak, to be weeping.
But I don't know what he could have done if he had known that anyway. He's not going to... If he'd start comforting her, that makes it look like being patronising.
Well, it makes it look like he was compassionate.
It made it look like he cared.
He would have drawn attention to it as well.
Attention was focused on it already, Jonathan.
The cameras in the House of Commons,
every
angle. The world...
But I'll tell you one thing about it today. I think that she should have acknowledged it in the sense that if you try to take control of the narrative, rather than just having a Richter smile, if you make some sort of, not necessarily a jokey reference, but at least acknowledge the elephant in the room.
Or even say, thanks for your concern, I'm feeling a lot better.
Thank you for your concern.
That would work, maybe.
I'm very grateful for your concern.
Because then we would have all said, well, what happened? And maybe she's not saying anything because she's covering the backs of the people who upset her. Maybe it was people in the Commons. We know that she's said to have had an altercation with Lindsay Hoyle, the Commons Speaker. there was also a talk that she'd had words with Starmer at some point before PMQs yesterday.
Now, Number 10 say they never even spoke that morning.
Well, they're saying... Number 10 say lots of things all the time, as you know, Piers, and they aren't all necessarily true. So maybe she was just backside covering for the people who'd upset her. But either way, I thought it was a pretty gross thing to do, to take her out. Yesterday, the problem was so bad.
But then if she hadn't been there, people would have said, where is Reeves?
But sometimes you're using people for just PR, and it's not...
On a tone break, tell me about emojis.
Right, OK.
The world of emojis that I know little about.
I was going to say, it's something you've never done in your life, send an emoji. But however, what is the story in the Mail today and the Sun saying that researchers reveal that these small little icons, like a red heart and a heart with a thing through it...
But you send in a text message.
Which you send in a text message. You don't have to explain it to the viewers. They know what it is, Piers. It's you, it doesn't. So when you send these little messages with all these little love things, it actually improves your relationship. It makes your relationship better. And I know that to be true because when my husband and I have had a bit of a Barney, if he sends me a little one, you know, with hugs and kisses on it, I think, oh, well, he's not so bad.
So how many of those do you get a week? Quite a lot, then?
Quite a lot,
Because you have quite a lot of Barneys.
We have quite a lot of Barneys, yeah. So I'm littered with little heart emojis, whatever, yes.
Does it work for you, Jonathan? Do you send emojis?
My WhatsApp is full of emojis.
Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way of, you know, sort of improving intimacy with friends. It's like part of, you know, how you have sort of shared jokes.
What's your favourite emoji?
Probably the cry laugh. That's like how I approach most of my politics.
What?
What's cry laugh?
Cry laugh?
Yeah, when, you know, with the
How does that bring
laughing.
you closer to people?
Because you're suggesting that you find each other funny. That's how people are.
Oh, I thought it was just because your politics are so laughable.
Oh, very good, Andrew.
I like the little one with the little smiley face with the 3 hugs on, the 3 little hearts, because that's a hug, isn't it?
How would I know? I don't
know.
know.
How do you know? Yeah.
That was Carol Malone, Jonathan is. Now, we've got tone change here, because we've got more on that extraordinary breaking news. The Liverpool football star, Diogo Jota, has been killed in a car crash 11 days after he got married. He was only 28. The Portuguese forward died in a crash in northwestern Spain, which also killed his brother. He's left behind 3 children. The Portuguese national football team say they're devastated. Of course they are. The Liverpool forward was described as a fantastic player. Liverpool fan John Hughes joins us now. John, good morning to you, and I'm sending you my deep condolences. I know you guys love your football team and you love your players. Yeah. Why was this guy so special?
Oh, he was special in so many ways, playing for Liverpool, but obviously the Wolverhampton Wanderers fans will remember him so well as well playing for Wolves, and obviously, like was said before, you know, the last 5 weeks of his life has been absolutely amazing. Winning the league, winning the Nations League with Portugal, getting married, and just seeing the pictures there with his wife and the children, it's just devastating. And football aside, you've got to think of his parents. His parents have lost 2 sons. It's just absolutely devastating. And, you know, the football fans all around the world, this is when rivalries don't matter. You know, all the football fans all around the world, Liverpool, Everton, all around the world, will all get together. And it's such a sad day. And it's been such a sad time recently, obviously, with Liverpool, with what's happened in Liverpool. And, you know, just picking ourselves up with what happened recently and then hearing this today, it's really hard for us, you know.
All right, John. Well, John, condolences from us all here at GB News. That's John Hughes talking about this extraordinary footballer who's Diogo Jota has lost his life at the age of 28 in a car crash. Up next, we're going to Henley. They've written in the autocue, my beloved Bev, because they know I hate that word, beloved. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of our European destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
High pressure across southern Europe keeps things mostly dry and sunny, staying unusually hot in Italy, breezy in the Greek islands, although nothing particularly unusual about this at this time of year. There are some thunderstorms through northern parts of Italy into Slovenia and Croatia, 1 or 2 inland across Italy as the heat builds because it is again unusually hot. Breezy through the Canaries and warmer than average here. The temperatures do drop off across Italy over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Britain's News Channel.
News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, my very good mate and co-host Bev Turner is at the Henley Royal Regatta this morning, and she's been speaking to the TV presenter Ed China. Let's have a listen.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I'm still here at Henley Regatta this morning. It is boiling. It is glorious. I'm not moaning about the weather. Now, I'm going to talk to a fascinating guy, Ed China. Ed, right, when you were on this show last year with me, we had the biggest reaction, I think, from any guest we've ever had on GB News.
That's an honour, thank you.
That is an honour. Yeah, everyone turned off. No, I'm joking. They were so thrilled to see you because you are a mechanic megastar YouTuber. Is that the best way of describing you?
It's not a bad way to describe me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's okay. But you're also a Henley resident.
Yes, very much.
To just tell people who've never been here, what is this festival? What is this regatta all about?
Well, regatta, I mean, I think when this started, like in, I think, 1849, 39 actually, and then it became a royal thing in 1851. And ever since then, it's just been part of that kind of season. So now you're going to be doing Wimbledon, you're going to be doing Ascot, you're going to come to Henley. And it's just a really wonderful place to be, as you can see, because the weather's amazing. Henley just looks fantastic. It looks like you're going into some kind of Constable sort of painting when you're going to go up and down the course there. I mean, it's just a wonderful place to be. But also, this is just one of many, many events that actually happens in Henley. And so you've got things like the Trad Boat Festival, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Again, it's more varnish, more boats, more shininess, but it's also a bit more Rib England as well, really, to be honest. And so I think it's just so many of these kind of events going on that it's just a wonderful place to live.
So tell me about the Traditional Boat Festival. When is it? How can people get to see it? Where is it?
Absolutely. So the Traditional Boat Festival is on the 18th to 20th of July, so be there because it's amazing. It's just down the river, just down there. You can see where those white little tents are. It's on the riverbank. It's just the most amazing show. You should be there for sure because we're all going to be here.
And it is incredibly atmospheric. There's nothing like it. You feel like you've stepped back in time, don't you?
Really, no, it's quite special. I mean, there's everything you'd expect from kind of like an English fete, plus all these amazing boats and lots of people who make boats, who kind of use boats, who polish boats. I mean, it's just, and it's not just about the boats either. I mean, it is about English life just kind of encapsulated in this wonderful place.
Bev Turner in Henley. Regatta. I think that we can hear quite a lot more from Bev in Henley throughout the day. Delighted to say, in the studio with me, Tom and Emily.
Lots of genuine smiles there in Henley. Perhaps not so much at this NHS launch.
Yes. Now, it was the worst-kept secret for me that she was going to be there. I absolutely knew they have to wheel her out. And she looked fantastic.
She did. I mean, my goodness me, whoever did her makeup,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean,
pay rise.
Absolutely.
Must be Elaine from here who does a great job.
Yes.
Does a great job with
She
me.
must have dashed over there.
But have the questions gone away?
No.
About why she was sobbing?
I don't think they ever will.
No.
I think we'll find out in some political biography in 5 or 10 years' time if there genuinely was a personal reason. I think it's probably more likely that the so-called personal
it wasn't so
reason...
bad that it prevented her from being
short-lived
out
personal reason.
Right. I mean, I think it's quite clear that whatever the quote-unquote personal reason is, it sits in the context of a terrible couple of weeks at work for the Chancellor. She now has to find more than £5 billion in extra taxes or other spending cuts come her autumn budget. And she's said time and time again that she wanted her first budget, which everyone agrees was a pretty nasty budget, right? Raising taxes in a lot of areas. She admitted, she said, never again. She was like, I hated raising taxes. I don't want to do it again. We did that to fix the foundations and now we're moving on. But if she has to do a second budget that is as painful, that is a personal heavy weight to bear.
I think she's overwhelmed.
I do. I smile.
I think she's been overwhelmed for a while.
Yeah.
Whether she's the right person for the job, I think that's very much up for debate.
And rightly or wrongly, because the Prime Minister should take responsibility, she's getting all the flack.
And this is the thing. They've been absolutely by each other's sides for the entirety of it. Every decision she's taken, the Prime Minister has too.
That's Tom and Emily. They're coming up. Up next, Good Afternoon Britain. Let's go to the weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a cooler start today compared with recent days. Dry and bright in the south, but very showery across Scotland, Northern Ireland and then parts of northern England later on. Plenty of sunshine for much of England and Wales at the start of the day. 1 or 2 showers possible here and there, otherwise largely dry. Scotland and Northern Ireland, different story. A keen breeze here, bringing in plenty of showers or longer spells of rain, particularly for Western Scotland and Northern Ireland, making it feel on the cool side, 17 to 19 degrees. Further south, where we do have some sunshine, it will be warm, but not as hot as recent weather. Now, into the evening, we'll see those showers slip further east and south into northern England and eastern Scotland. Perhaps the odd rumble of thunder. These will be lively and potentially persistent showery outbreaks in places. They're starting to ease during the evening across Northern Ireland and perhaps western Scotland as well. But they'll begin to appear into North Wales. Elsewhere across England and Wales, a dry end to the day, plenty of clear skies as we go into the evening. And still feeling warm out there, but like I say, we've lost that oppressive heat of recent days. Now we go into Friday morning with some more persistent rain arriving into western and central Scotland. That will ease off initially, but then turn heavier and more persistent later in the day. Temperatures at the start of the day around the mid-teens, but as we go through the morning, it's going to start to feel more humid once again across the south, certainly. Plenty of sunshine through the southern half of the UK, another fine day to come. But further north, we've got more cloud for northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland.